living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE, welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what Joss Whedon must have done to all the footage from Justice League shootings, because the Zack Snyder version is a fucking masterpiece. 4 hours well spent. I do not regret spending 4 hours watching a movie. Oh, I'm a nerd, I know, but it is the best superhero movie ever made. Fight me. Anyway, so the reason we are here tonight is last week, during actually episode 4 of Stupidity Is Not Right, Globebusters was streaming on their channel. And they decided to have a look at Red's EQ mount video that he covered for the channel, that he put on the channel a couple of weeks ago. And it was hilarious, considering Bob is sitting there with an EQ mount in his room, and he can still be as wrong as he is. It genuinely blows my mind. So what we've done is we've gathered one of the worst looking boy bands in the world. We've got Red's Rhetoric, we've got Wolfie6020, and we've got Mr. Sensible here. And we're going to go over what stupid was said. Let's start by saying hello to Reds. How you doing, Reds?
Hey, how's it going? I just want you to know it's kind of cold and clammy down here, so I hope you don't mind, but I kind of used some of the fuel, if you know what I mean.
I didn't give you any fuel.
Oh, don't worry, you'll find out what I'm using later.
And just so you know, I forgot to buy cat food, so I can't feed you for the next few days.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see
Yeah,
how it is.
yeah.
Okay, this is abuse. Just letting you know, this is abuse.
Uh, I mean, I have kidnapped you and put you in my basement, so I'm not really worried about being accused of abusing you, to be fair.
Oh, I see how it is. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough.
Wolfie, how you doing? I am absolutely stoked to have you here.
Oh, thanks for the invitation, and it's a pleasure for me too. I'm on the second last day of 14 days quarantine in Sydney, so it's nice to talk to some real people for a change.
Yeah, just instead of the people delivering your plastic trays of food.
I don't even see them. They knock on the door, and I have to wait 30 seconds before I open it. So they take it fairly strict.
Are you even allowed like out in the corridor or anything, or
No,
like?
no, this one's a little bit different to the previous ones. On every previous quarantine, I arrived as operating flight crew. So it's sort of like a self-enforced quarantine where you just choose your own hotel. But this
Oh,
time I arrived as a regular passenger, so I have to go into the government-sanctioned hotel. And they've got police guarding the corridor. They've got
what?
it's okay. I mean, I've got a nice room and they provide beautiful meals, but I've just got to sit in the room. It suits me fine. It's just like a paid holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, my day off. What are you going to do? I'm going to sit on the computer in a room. I could do that in a hotel, no bother.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
thank you for joining
Absolutely.
us, Wolfie. I know that you are an EQ mount expert. You have several different EQ mounts, don't you?
I do. I do. I've got a big one, a Skywatcher as EQ6. That's my big one. I've got a Celestron AVX, and I've got a little Ioptron Smart EQ Pro, plus the smaller ones. So I've got a good variety of them.
Excellent, thank you. And Mr. Sensible, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not so bad, thanks, Fight. Not so bad at all. I joined the stream 2 minutes late, so I assume you've smashed the Flerfs already. Done and
No,
dusted, are they?
yeah, well, it doesn't take long to debunk Flat Earth. Hang on, I'll debunk Flat Earth right now. There's a horizon. Done. There we go. Let's just move on. Nice of you to join us from. I assume you're in the Beta Quadrant on the bridge of the Enterprise there.
Yeah, well, the odds are against us. The situation is grim. The only ship in the quadrant. You know how it is.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, we're
Never
going to
give
go
up, never
over
surrender.
Red's. We're going to go over Globebusters responding to Red's EQ mount, which is going to be fun because, well, they're really, really, really dumb. Bob has recently once again proven that the Earth does rotate. Did you guys see the gyroscope video that they've tried to get banned?
No, I heard about it though.
Yeah. What about you,
Which,
Wolfie?
No, didn't hear about them getting it banned, but I'm certainly aware of him proving the 15 degrees rotation. Yeah.
Well, no, there's a new one. So Globebusters commissioned Stephen P to make this gorgeous bit of technology, a mechanical gyroscope. And they built this from scratch with the same intention of trying to prove that the Earth doesn't rotate. Unfortunately, when they span it up and that, have you any idea what happened?
I can imagine, yes.
It showed that the Earth rotates. So they banned him from the Globebusters channel, flagged his channel so much on YouTube that it got removed, and tried to strike anyone that shows this video of the Globebusters mechanical gyroscope showing that the Earth rotates the expected amount.
Do we expect any different from Bob at the moment? I mean, I've got to throw this in, Craig, if you can indulge me for 30 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bob, we're still waiting for you to explain why you lied about being a commercial pilot. You were exposed years ago, and
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
And we have absolute proof that you claim to be a commercial pilot with a multi-engine rating, and your FAA record shows that that was not the case. So we're still waiting for you to admit publicly why you lied.
I saw him commenting on Facebook. I saw him comment on Facebook, and he told somebody that you can still be a commercial multi-engine rated pilot even if you've only flown a single engine aircraft.
Well, his FAA record proves otherwise. So, and the interesting part was when I did make that video exposing him, he rapidly removed all the evidence of his claim.
Oh, of course he did. Of course he did. They like hiding evidence, don't they? Oh, I wonder what we're going to do about this, though. Reds, should we just get on with it? See what stupid they've been saying?
Oh, absolutely. I did take a peek at their video, but I didn't watch it all the way through because my stomach can only take so much. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it.
Yeah, I mean, what more CGI do you need to that?
That's pathetic.
The low-density supersonic decelerator. Oh, man.
Kind of our title sequence here, the serving up humble pie, and this goes directly to the claim that Red's Rhetoric has made, and of course he put this out to all the ballers, and this is, I guess, mirrored by Fight the Flat Earth. I don't know if Red's Rhetoric was actually originally put this out or what, but he's the one that talks about it, narrates it, whatever.
Well, yeah, that's because Reds is in my basement, and I force him to make videos for the channel. It's quite simple to understand, really.
Yeah, and all joking aside, that's because Fight the Flat Earth is now my channel as well. So
yeah.
But Red, I've got to ask. I've heard Fight say so many times about this. Do you have to wear a gimp suit?
Shh, that was in private. I mean, if he wants to get fed.
It's one of these maid outfits that has no back.
I feel slightly ill now.
But this is the one that I could find. So it is titled, How the EQ Mount Destroys the Flat Earth. Well,
let's
I thought it was the other way around.
It is the other way around.
That's definitely part of the problem. And let me actually make this so I can put some audio on it. Hang on just a sec. Chrome tab.
Pause that right there.
And, it makes you wonder if
they say actually it's the other way around when it comes to the EQ mount destroying the flat Earth. There's like, no, it actually destroys the globe. Bob, you're an idiot. No, it does not. If it did destroy the globe, you would have explained how by now, and you haven't done that.
I mean, they do try.
Reasons, Red. Reasons.
It is reasons. You're right, Mr. Sensible. But they do. I mean, they attempt to explain how they think it disproves the globe in this, but it's hilariously wrong.
Flat Earth was so stupid and we're so wrong. Why is it that people like Red's Rhetoric have a full-time job of trying to prove us wrong? If it's just such a stupid thing that can be so easily debunked.
I'm going to answer that. It's because debunking flat earthers is fucking endlessly hilarious, and I have so much fun doing it. In fact, so much fun, I turned How Stupid Flat Earth Is into a game show.
Let me just make sure people understand this. This is entertainment for me.
Yeah.
This is all just entertainment. You guys are an endless running joke. And so when I make these videos, I make them for entertainment. I entertain myself with your stupidity. You are pawns in my little scheme of making myself laugh. Do you understand that? I hope you do.
Yeah.
And I have to agree with that, Reds. It's the same for me. The whole thing, the whole time I've been doing this is just pure entertainment. I don't take anything they say personally. I've never taken flat earthers seriously. The whole thing's just a bit of a game.
I always assumed that you were doing it for the shill money, Wolfie. You need a quid or two, don't you?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, that's the financial incentive, but it's still fun games. Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, this is the first time I've ever spoke to you. I would like to quickly take the opportunity to say thank you very much for the kind offer months and months back about the trip to Oz, which I was unable to take up, but I do appreciate it.
No problem. If you ever want to come, the accommodation offer's still there for you.
Nice one. Thank you.
I love how this community
also, just to make
together.
sure, because I have people asking this, yes, I actually do have a real job. Please subscribe to my OnlyFans. Link will be posted in the description below. Anyway.
Yeah, it's if you just search for Red's Rubber Rhetoric, that's what you find it there. It's the triple R videos, you call them, I believe.
Exactly. At it for years.
Exactly.
Yeah, all of them have. I mean, the trolls are all the same trolls, all the same thing, same story.
I love trolling.
You know, they still come in and they're in all the chats. It's like, really? If we are that stupid, why are you here? You know, it just,
because
you know, they think, well, we're saving the world from your
stupid,
your stupid stuff and ripping everybody off. It's like, yeah, we're cleaning it up here, man. We're making a fortune off this. Not.
Well, they are making money off, like, look at Simon Dan. How many people he has on his Patreon for basically total lies and BS?
Oh, I know.
Everybody else
they make thousands and thousands of dollars. Man, I wish I got his money.
Oh, I really hate that guy. And I don't say that a lot about people, especially in this debate, but man, that guy gets under my skin really, really bad.
Oh, the more guy
he gets under my
saying,
skin as well. He's stolen all my subs.
Yeah, same here. He got all the subs. We don't have any left. But I just love how it's the Morgile, someone whose wife outed him as stealing their money to buy meth, is trying to take some kind of moral high ground over Simon Dan. It's hilarious.
Well, basically, here's what we have here. What we have right there is jealousy, pure jealousy. Simon Dan has got it made. He's got the views, he's got the subs, and he's got the views and the subs that the Morgile does not have, and that pisses him off.
Yeah, and would never get. I mean, his videos are so boring.
He's never going to get that big, and he's destroyed by that.
Yeah, he's also destroyed by the copious amounts of drug abuse that he's done.
Yeah, and also they said cleaning it up. I'll just go back to the comment I made previously. If you guys actually had anything to your BS when it comes to the EQ mount destroying the globe, you would have explained it by now. And by explain, I mean explain with facts, not pull shit out of your ass. Maybe that's the reason why you don't have the subscriber count that Simon Dan has.
Mm-hmm. Someone in the chat asks, would they get to see Red's face on his OnlyFans? No, they're reserving Red's face for the deployment of the suicide booths next year.
Lol.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play this, and we're going to let Reds have his claim. I think I'm going to speed it up a little bit we don't have to endure it too long, maybe 1 1/4. And we're going to let them, talk about their side of it and why they think that what they're doing proves that the EQ mount destroys flat Earth, and also proves the value for R, the radius of the Earth. Now, this was classic, guys, because again, what they typically do is they talk about how they're going to prove R using what? R is an assumption in the math that they use. But
it is reality.
Exactly.
Oh, did you see that?
So
I've noticed this on a few of the Globebuster streams. They've got a Red's Rhetoric soundboard they use.
Oh, that's beautiful. Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, I hate for their stock to get old, so allow me to repeat myself. Math is reality.
Yeah.
If Bob was a real pilot, he would know that math is reality. Our takeoff speeds are calculated by math. The amount of cargo, the distribution, the weight and balance is all based on math. Flight planning is based on math. You cannot fly an airplane without understanding math.
No.
This entire debate about flat Earth versus round Earth is all about mathematics. It's all about geometry. It's all about trigonometry. You cannot have this debate without talking about math. And for these jackasses to make fun of me because I say math is reality is to illustrate how they don't understand the debate they are currently engaged in, nor do they understand the reality in which they inhabit. And by the way, Jism, you can add that to your soundboard, dumbass.
Interesting. I just love how they understand what they're doing so little. They constantly prove the opposite to what they're saying. For instance,
a 15 degree per hour drift.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Bob.
Bob.
Oh, look, you used math there. 15
Yeah.
degrees, you say?
Per hour, measurement
Per
of time
hour?
using math.
Wait a minute, wait a minute,
Wow.
wait a minute. Is that a distance over time? That's a fraction.
Oh
Aw,
God,
shit.
you've lost them. You've said fraction. No, they're too confused.
Well, one of
Go
them
ahead and
recently
give this
was
a play
talking
really
about
quick. Here we go.
space-time being how much time per cubic meter.
While this image...
Oh God, yeah, no, I was oh, that's what water's always level. Yeah, I was messaging him on Instagram earlier, and I told him to go and measure something without also using time, and he didn't respond.
is indeed beautiful, it points to something else that is also beautiful. The fact that the image could be captured at all. Notice how the telescope only had to rotate one axis to capture the image. This is because Astronomy Live was using an equatorial telescope mount. It works by aligning the rotational axis of the mount parallel to the axis of our planet, meaning the axis of rotation on the mount is aligned with the celestial pole in the sky. This mount works so well that it's used by astrophotographers. The reason is because it corrects for field rotation, which is a huge benefit because field rotation will ruin any long exposure shot. And while the concept of such a mount is simple, it still delivers a fatal blow to the flat Earth conspiracy. Not only can this telescope mount confirm the shape of the Earth, it can also determine the size of the Earth, and we will demonstrate that in this video.
I mean, everything Red said there is absolutely 100% correct. And like I said, Wolfie uses the EQ mounts often. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that, Wolfie, about how easy it is to demonstrate that it can only work on a globe?
Oh, absolutely. And I've used equatorial mounts in numerous locations, different latitudes, including the Northern Hemisphere. So I have personal experience that the polar alignment angle absolutely will match your latitude. And we know that that is 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles of latitude. So the simple math there, you know, one degree per 60 nautical miles, if we have 360 degrees, that's 21,600 nautical miles. You divide that by 2, divide it by pi and convert to kilometers, and you've got R, a very accurate value of R straight away.
With no assumptions.
We're using that math again, but no, math isn't reality. We have Bob saying 15 degrees per hour of drift. Again, using math to to explain his observation that was done in reality, but according to him, math is not reality. Look at that. We're using math again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's amazing how much of reality is maths, and you know, and how much
we may touch on it further. But the one thing I just wanted to add to the conversation is that every time the flat earthers talk about the equatorial mount, they don't address every aspect of it, and there are a number of aspects with the equatorial mount that, when combined, are absolutely impossible to model on a flat Earth, and that is the polar alignment angle matching your latitude for any location on the Earth, the single axis of rotation at a steady rate. That's the critical thing. It's a single axis of rotation at the sidereal rate to track the stars from any location on Earth, an unchanging sidereal rate. There's no way they can model that. No way you can model that on a flat Earth. And that's an easy checkmate with every flat earther that I've encountered. I ask them, just provide a practical demonstration of how the equatorial mount works on a flat Earth, and you have won. But of course, they can't do it.
Well,
I do want to capitalize on that, which I will be giving a little spoiler here. But in my original video, I had Slice Arcane model how the equatorial mount would work on a flat Earth. And on a flat Earth, it was forced to use 2 axes of rotation. That was such a devastating blow to the flat Earth conspiracy that Bob Nodell refused to show it.
And I'd also say, and I agree with everything both Wolfie and Red have said. I'd also like to point out that every time a flat earther claims that an EQ mount works on a flat Earth, a kitten gets drowned. It's that bad.
It really is. Now, Mr. Sensible, you do quite lovely, very simple demonstrations of things, like your recent Coriolis one you sent me. Is there anything?
That's because I'm quite a lovely, simple man.
yeah, lovely. Is there anything you could do similar for an EQ mount to explain the concept to them?
I'd like to think. Yeah, do you know? I'd like to think of doing that. That's a good idea.
That's right. That's my challenge to you: is to do one of your amazingly simple explanation videos that you do on an EQ mount.
I will rise to the challenge, sir.
Good. Right, back to the stupid.
When a flat earther asks, how have you determined the value for r, you can simply point them to this video. First, let's imagine we're going on a road trip. This road trip will...
Well, I can imagine Nathan's going to have fun with this thing.
The tone of it's so condescending, even to
it's impossible
like,
to support, man. The tone of the voice is impossible to support.
That's right. But he's saying, come to this video. This is the answer to everything. It's like, it's so cultish as well. Very...
Red, it's cultish to say that this video contains correct maths, apparently.
Oh my god. So basically it's like, hey, this video has the answer to your question. Oh my god, he's saying that if we want the answer to his question, we should click on the video that has the answer to our question. Fucking Illuminati, people.
I know. Hey, Reg, do you want to send Geist Viewer a link?
And by the way, this flat earther was apparently angry at my tone that I'm condescending to him. I just want people to know that he is absolutely right. I am condescending to flat earthers because, well, they're flat earthers. Fuck them.
Flat earthers often accuse me of being judgmental towards them, but, you know, they would just stop saying stupid things that we're all forced to acknowledge, then we wouldn't maybe be so judgmental.
It's like, if I have to explain basic shit like this to you, and you're coming back at me, calling me a shill, and you're saying that I'm part of a conspiracy or part of the Illuminati or the lizard people or a paid agent, you're not engaged in honest dialogue, which means I don't need to give you any respect. I have actually earned the right to say, go fuck yourself, and mean it when I say it.
You've done the work.
I agree with you, Reds. I agree with you, Reds. I have a very different attitude towards flat earthers than I did 4 years ago. If you look at the way I was presenting information in my videos, it was just with a genuine desire to help and teach and educate.
So naive.
Not be condescending in the slightest. And, you know, I thought, surely they're semi-intelligent people. They'll respond to logic. And, yeah, my mistake. And I quickly admit that I was very naive. I mean, I've never encountered human beings that stupid in my everyday life. So I credited them with more honesty and more intelligence than they absolutely demonstrate. And over a period of time, you know, when I'm presenting irrefutable proof of the globe and video from the aircraft, and they just refuse to accept it, they don't want, that they bring it on themselves. You know, the condescending attitudes and the condescending way we talk to them now, they have brought it entirely on themselves.
You're right. When I started this, I'd already got past the point of being nice to them. You know, when I first found out really about all flat earths and that, and started speaking to them on Facebook and that, I started with a genuine, like, well, maybe if I explain gravity to you, you'll understand. But then by the time I was like, right, I'm making a YouTube channel, I was already too pissed off to be nice to them anymore. Now, Wolfie, one thing flat earthers say quite often to me is that, oh, I've got a video of pilots saying that the Earth's flat when they come to the flight deck. Now, is it true that pilots will basically say anything to get someone off the flight deck?
Absolutely. And in many cases, it's quite obvious in those videos that the pilot is just taking the piss out of the flat earther. And certainly, you know, before encountering flat earthers on YouTube, if somebody had come up to my cockpit and said, oh, is the Earth flat? I said, yeah, absolutely, don't tell anybody. You know, I would have said that, no problem at all. Just because it's such a ridiculous concept that it's so obvious that it's sarcasm when you say that. But the flat earthers are not seeing that sarcasm in the video.
They're too dumb to understand the sarcasm. He said the Earth's flat. I'm right.
As for getting them off the flight deck, I mean, my job is a bit different. I'm corporate aviation. I've got to turn up 2 hours before the flight, and I'm usually at the airplane for an hour afterwards. But airline pilots don't have that. They turn up 30 minutes before the flight. They've got everything set up for them. And the minute they land, they sign off the paperwork, they can go home. So they don't want to sit there talking to some idiot who thinks the Earth is flat. And they will basically just agree. It's like, the analogy I use is when you're in a shopping mall and you're in at the cash register and you're in the line, and the person behind you is an old man who just wants to tell you his life story. Well, you know, you're not interested in it. You're not interested in talking to him. So what do? You go, yep.
Oh, like sitting next to the nutter on the bus, right?
Absolutely. Just
always next to you, aren't they?
Yeah.
The best way to just terminate a conversation is just agree. Yep, yep, yep. So, if somebody comes up to me and they want to talk to me on the flight deck of the airplane and I just want to go home because I'm tired or I just want to watch something on Netflix, they could tell me that, the sky is green and that water is not real. Go, yep, that's right, mate. Yeah,
absolutely. You're right. My bus is in 20 minutes. Can you fuck off?
And it's so obvious. It's so obvious in those videos. It's so obvious in those videos that is what the pilots are doing. But the flat earthers just seem to lack the skills, the people skills to understand when somebody's taking the mickey out of them.
Yeah. And also one more thing, just to kind of highlight what they say about condescension and not being honest with them or whatever. I have made legitimate offers to flat earthers, as have you, Wolfie. Like, for example, when JM Truth decided to call my footage fake and CGI and whatnot, I invited him to Cape Canaveral to use my equipment to film a rocket launch for himself, and he can see how it works. He can do it himself. He did not take me up on my offer, even though that was a legitimate offer, and still decided to call me a liar in the process. So when I'm being totally legit and making genuine statements to a flat earther, like, I will let you use my equipment to film a rocket launch for yourself to demonstrate that what I do is not fake, is not CGI, they will reply with, I will not accept your reply. Also, go fuck yourself. Also, you're a liar and a show and whatever. At that point, I shouldn't have to treat them with respect because they're not treating me with any sort of respect. You don't call me a liar, say that I'm making CGI to deceive the masses, and expect me to be cool with you and treat you like my equal. You're not. Yeah. You're beneath me at that point.
Absolutely. They don't have the honesty. Sorry, go on, Wolfie.
My personal experience with offering trips, the first one was Chippy the Chipmunk. I don't know if any of you remember him. He was around in 2016, and he was a pretty decent guy. He made some flat earth videos, and his channel's still there, but he hasn't made anything for a long time. But you could actually have a good conversation with him. He was not rude. He was quite respectful. And, when I started showing the angles of the sun from Perth, he was really interested in that, and he tried to resolve it on the flat earth, and he couldn't. And I think that's one of the main reasons he gave up. But he was the first guy that I offered a free trip to Australia. I said, come on down and we'll have a look at the sun angles. We can do some experiments. And he actually just very politely declined. And I kind of respected the way he declined, and
some flat earthers can be decent.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, I can't really say a bad word about him. And the next person I offered it to was Jaron, and the offer I made to him was, come to Australia, I'll pay for your ticket, I'll pay for your flight from Sydney to San Diego, we will do it together, I'll buy you a GPS so you can log it. And he seemed very interested at first, and then within like a few days there was one excuse that he didn't want to leave his wife, so I said, bring her along too, I'll pay for her too.
I mean, we all know the real reason was he was too busy proving the Earth curves on a Netflix documentary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is before that, long before that, and offered it, you bring your wife too, we'll go. And he didn't want to do Sydney to San Diego, so I said, well, let's do Sydney to Johannesburg. I don't care, any of those flights would have been fine. Bring your wife. And I even gave him an itinerary where I factored in several free days just for him and his wife to enjoy Sydney at my expense. And you know how he responded? He made a video calling me a deceiver.
Oh, of course you are.
It was just hilarious, and I just
want to quickly say
my response by email was, "What the fuck?" Yeah.
I just want to quickly say, Irish Demon is in the chat. Irish Demon, if you're not subscribed to him, then you really should be. He's an extremely good debunker, very much like Reds and I, and he's just an awesome guy. Recently, some bullshit has happened to him. YouTube demonetized his channel because he responded to a video from Daniel Pratt where Daniel Pratt tells me, Irish Demon, and Simon Dan to go and kill ourselves. Irish Demon's channel has been demonetized, yet that Pratt video is still up. If you go to my Twitter, at FTFE Official, I have retweeted the tweet that Irish Demon put out to YouTube support. I would very much appreciate it if as many people as possible could retweet that tweet. In fact, try saying that 5 times. Retweet that tweet. Demon, if you want to put the link to the tweet that you put out in the chat, as many people as possible, please retweet this so that maybe YouTube support will see it and actually, deal with this, because it's an absolutely ridiculous situation that one of the best content creators in the community has been demonetized for responding to somebody that told him to kill himself. It's absolute bullshit. He's an awesome, awesome guy. If you're not subscribed to him, please subscribe to Irish Demon. But anyway, back to the stupid.
Why would you even watch this? Yeah, not us, but I guess we're doing for science. Do it for science.
Yeah, this is for science. Yeah, sorry guys, hate to put you through this, but they really think they got a winner here. But let's keep going.
Have the following stops.
Oh, Reds, could you send the join link to Geistview, please?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Walhalla, North Dakota. Mitchell, South Dakota.
Blah, blah, blah.
Following the most direct path. Once at each location, we will stay.
So basically what's happening is they're going to take measurements from these places that go basically down a straight line. And they talk about how they're going to do this, and then they act like they've already done it and gotten the results. And the other thing that's really confusing about this is he says, and we're going to take our car mileage and use the math to prove the R value, right? Which is really bizarre, because when you use the car mileage, it's actually off from by about 200 miles from the actual mileage if you use Google Earth from here to here, right? Which only tells
sense
me
to use a car because you're going through streets and you're turning.
Exactly. So what are they trying to hide? Well, their big claim is that it's within 8% of the predicted values. It's like, well, I don't think so. Not if you use the Google Earth values, but whatever. So let's continue on.
Right, Reds, what do you say to that?
Yeah, there was a reason why I used the driving distance and not the Google Earth values, because then these same people would have complained that I used Google Earth and that I was taking Google Earth's word for it. The reason why I used the drive miles is because you can reset your odometer and measure it yourself. And that's the only value that flat earthers seem to accept. Oh, okay. Did you measure it yourself? Are you taking Google Earth's word for it? So basically, you're stuck in a no-win situation. I also said in this video, despite our imperfect method, we are still within 8% of the accepted value. So I acknowledge that this is not a perfect method. However, it is meant to just show that even if you take shit just driving, if you drive the shortest distance between these 2 points, that you can get within striking distance of the actual answer. That's all I was demonstrating. I wasn't saying that this was the actual way to do it, dumbasses.
I think their issue is they seem to think that you underestimated how much extra the driving would add on to it. I think their claim there was that it would be more than 8%. Where did you get the data for the driving distance?
All I did was simple. I went to Google Maps, I picked my starting location, and I picked my ending location. Starting location in Walhalla, North Dakota, and my ending location in Alice, Texas. And then I said, okay, Google, I want to find the shortest distance. What's the shortest distance driving between these 2 points? And
right,
that's
so you actually got the data from
Google,
Google, which is what they're saying that you didn't do. So you did do that.
Yeah, but it would be driving.
Yeah.
The best thing about the driving distance on Google is that it can be verified with your car's odometer to within a few miles or so, assuming that you stuck along that same path. And if you were to use just that method alone, you get within striking distance of the accepted value for R. And again, the fact that they're bitching about this, even though I state in the video that this is an imperfect method, blows my fucking mind. They're being intentionally dishonest here.
Yeah.
Anybody with an ounce of common sense would understand exactly where you're getting at with that, Red. I mean, it was quite obvious. You were not trying for it to be exactly right, but the results that you achieved were within the ballpark, and that's really what you were trying to prove. I mean, I don't see how anybody could not understand what your intent was there.
Yeah, it's rough and ready showing the principle, isn't it?
Exactly.
The only way that people would not understand is if they purposefully tried to not understand. This is where intellectual dishonesty comes in, and this is why I'm so vitriolic towards these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we could just ask flat earthers why they get everything so wrong. Riley, why do you always get everything wrong?
I'm a dumb flat earther, and I don't understand science.
That makes sense. Yeah, sorry, I understand now. Right, moving on.
He's also a dumb flat earther who doesn't
get some measurements
YouTube.
from our equatorial telescope mount. While setting up the EQ telescope at each location, you
yeah, sorry, I just want to say, Geistview, hello, welcome.
Howdy, everybody. I'm just sitting here in the background.
So we're going over Globebusters responding to Red's EQ mount video, and it's pretty hilarious.
Roger.
The angle of the rotational axis, ensuring the scope is level when making your measurements. Again, we want to document the angle the EQ axis has to be at in order to be aligned with the north celestial pole. After a few days of driving to each location to make your measurements, you document the total distance driven. Now we are ready to look at the data. Here are the EQ angles that you found for each location. Walhalla, North Dakota, 48.9 degrees. Mitchell, South Dakota, 43.7 degrees. Hutchinson, tell us. Well, to find out, we will need to plot our data points on two different models, the first being the flat Earth model and the second being the globe Earth model. First, we will start with the flat Earth model. We will need to make sure that the model is made to scale, so refer back to your notes and the distance driven between each stop. After plotting our points on the flat Earth model, we will now add the angles we recorded during our trip. And here's what they look like. As you can see, we have a problem. The lines of altitude, when plotted on a flat Earth, render contradictory answers for the direction of the celestial pole. In fact, every single intersection can be a possible location for the pole star Polaris. So, is it here? Is it here? What about here? So, in order...
And there we have it, guys. Flat Earth is dead. That completely shows it. Game over, I guess. Everyone can go home, right?
Yeah, but if he carried on, he could actually have plans for one of those old-fashioned pictures with pins and strings and make a penny farthing. Do you remember those?
But Craig, you think it would be over, but no. They're basically, this is the part where they reach up their rear end and pull something out, and then they try to splatter it all over the internet. You know it's not over. You know it can't be this easy.
Yeah, I know. So naive.
For the flat Earth model to make any sense, Polaris would have to be in multiple different spots, in multiple different directions, all at the exact same time.
Yeah, except the only problem is all you have to do is point it at Polaris to get the axis rotation point. So, you know, I don't even understand where he's coming up with this.
Wait, was that right? You have to point it at Polaris to get the axis rotation point?
Here's the thing, Bob. When we made our measurements for each of those locations, we were pointed at Polaris, you dumbass.
Yeah, that comment by Bob just highlights that he has absolutely no understanding of what these polar alignment angles actually represent. None whatsoever.
He doesn't even understand the concept.
Exactly. No. That's exactly right. And that comment verifies that he does not understand the concept. Yes, we do. I mean, I'm in the southern hemisphere. I don't look at Polaris. I can't see it. It's 34 degrees below the horizon from my home.
Oh, it's just too far away.
But what I do is I use the south celestial pole, and there's also different ways of aligning your equatorial mount. There's something called the drift alignment system, and that's probably the most accurate. It takes a long time, but what you're effectively doing is just aligning the altitude and the azimuth independently until there's absolutely no drift of the star in the mount. It takes a long time. That's generally how I do it when I set up on the balcony. But yeah, even in my particular telescope, in my big one, it has a reticle for aligning to Polaris, and there's also a graph for the southern celestial pole. But the interesting thing is Polaris is not exactly at the north celestial pole. It's offset and it's rotating around that. And so when you align the mount, you have to factor in the current position of Polaris. And interestingly, there's a little graph that shows the changing position of Polaris over the coming decades. You know, so when these flat earthers talk about the stars always being the same, they're absolutely not. And you even have to factor that into the alignment of the mount in the next few decades.
So so based on what the date is, you'll have a different angle to get it aligned properly.
Well, it's sort of on the decades. It's only a very small amount of movement over decades, but certainly over a 24-hour period, because Polaris is rotating around the north celestial pole. If you point directly at Polaris, you're not perfectly polar aligned. You have to understand where Polaris is in relation to the North Celestial Pole, which varies over a 24-hour day, and then just point the mount. Well, you actually put Polaris, you orientate the reticle offset, and then you put Polaris in the reticle, and then the telescope will actually be pointing at the true North Celestial Pole.
Yeah, because if you look at those images of star trails, Polaris is drawing a little circle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very close, but not exact.
Yeah,
and when they keep going on about stars not moving, they've obviously never come across Barnard's star, which is the star with the greatest proper motion across the sky. And you can see photos taken every few years, and it's in a slightly different position.
Exactly. And in astronomy, anyone that's had a bit of experience with astronomy, they're familiar with something called the J2000 epoch. It's like a snapshot of the celestial coordinates in the year 2000, effectively. And if we my telescopes can locate a star using the J2000 epoch, or I can use software such as Sky Safari and use what is called the J now. So it's right now. And there can be a slight difference between the position of the stars 21 years ago and where they are today. It's just something that that is undeniable. Any flat earther who thinks the stars are always in the same position, well, go and read about the J2000 epoch, and you'll know
I can
otherwise.
just literally show them historical almanacs where sailors had to chart the changing positions of the stars, otherwise they get lost and stuff. Scythe DK in the chat says that he would like a tutorial on how to align your EQ mount correctly for those of us that never seem to get it right. A complete beginner tutorial. He can never seem to get his EQ mount aligned correctly.
Okay, I'll certainly add that to the list. I go home in a few days. Unfortunately, it's forecast to be cloudy, but I can certainly make more videos about astronomy. That I get a lot of requests for that, so I'm certainly happy to do it.
Yep. Right. And I also just want to make sure that something is clear. When I say that every single intersection can be a possible location for the pole star Polaris, that means that Polaris isn't exactly on the celestial pole, but it's close enough where you can still use this data to make this determination of where Polaris should be roughly. And if we were to plot our lines over a flat Earth, Polaris isn't over the North Pole. Imagine that.
It's all to do with maths. Anyway, let's listen to more stupid.
You basically put Polaris in the eyepiece. You actually physically align it in the eyepiece, to be able to make this EQ mount work. Go ahead, John.
Well, what I was going to say is something that he's completely failing to consider is refraction. And, the thing is you're going to have different refraction indexes for each one of these locations. And we'll just go ahead and assume that the weather conditions are all identical in all 4 of these points or 5 of these points or whatever. Just assume that for argument's sake. Even still, you're going to have the light from Polaris traveling through different angles through the atmosphere. And so, again, what he's assuming is that they have a line of sight, straight line path to Polaris in each one of these locations. And the fact of the matter is that's not the case. What they're looking at is going to be an apparent position of Polaris, and that's all depending on variables, including refraction. And so basically my argument to this whole thing's null and void, because he's assuming that you have a vacuum environment and you have a straight line of sight to Polaris in each one of these locations, and that simply isn't the case. So the whole rest of the argument that he has here is no.
Yeah.
Okay. For the Chicago Skyline Mirage, that Mirage basically made every single flat earther cream their pants. And the same was true for the Black Swan. The amount of refraction that was needed for the Chicago Skyline Mirage was 0.12 degrees. Let me repeat that. 0.12 degrees is all the refraction that was needed to give us the Chicago Skyline Mirage. When it came to the Black Swan, it was somewhere around that as well. Again, I'm doing this from the top of my head, but I think it was like 0.3 or something like that degrees. But basically what we're saying here is that the amount of refraction that we see on Earth for these objects, whether we're talking Chicago or the Black Swan, we're talking about fractions of a single degree. That's what we see. However, Morgile wants you all to believe that we're not seeing a refractive index of a fraction of a single degree. we're seeing a refractive index of 21.15 degrees. So basically, what I'm going to do, Morgal, just for you, is I'm going to bring up something that you should have access to, but you don't know how to use. It's called a calculator. Now, in this calculator, you have these things called numbers, and you can type numbers in. So, for example, if I type in 21.15 and I divide that by 0.12 degrees, what I get is another number. I get 176.25. So what this number means is that you are wrong by a factor of 176.25. Educate yourself, dumbass.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, my words to John the Morgile is that, wow, your fingers must be bleeding from all that desperate straw clutching, I should say. And it really is. It's like he just uses refraction, but neglects to indicate that the refraction always demonstrates the globe. Like the refractive index is always making the results of the observation fit the globe. How is that? It's almost like God himself is in on the conspiracy.
I got a couple points.
Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, first off, doesn't Morgal realize he actually is arguing for space and Polaris is outside our atmosphere? Because he has to argue for it going from a quote-unquote vacuum to an atmosphere, which would cause some refraction. And he also doesn't quite understand the fucking twinkling of a star is refraction.
Yeah.
They misunderstand and misapply everything. That's the thing. Yeah. What you
get is just that. What you get and I just want to highlight that twinkling. That's all the refraction that you get with a star. You get enough for it to twinkle. You don't get enough for it to appear in a different part of the sky by over 20 degrees, you dumbass.
That would require magic.
And here's the thing. These are coming from the people that pointed to the Chicago skyline mirage, but couldn't do the math to figure out what they were actually seeing. And because they couldn't do the math to figure out what they were seeing, they don't know how much refraction was actually there. I did the math, and it was 0.12 degrees. They thought that was amazing, the best, and that is some of the best refraction that you are going to get. But the Morgal wants you to believe that it is possible for there to be a refractive index that is 175 times worse. That is desperation.
Yeah. It's sensible.
For anybody
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, anybody who's trying to do some astrophotography at night and you're doing your backyard, do not find a target that is over your roof, because as your roof lets all the heat off from the day, it's going to cause all kinds of refraction and all kinds of crap in the air that you don't want to see. So try and do your targets away from your roof or any kind of structures that are giving off heat.
I mean, you even have to put your scope out earlier to let it cool off and equalize temperatures, don't you? Let the mirror.
I put my telescopes. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say let the mirror cool down and equalize to the air temperature and all that sort of thing.
Well, I have
distortions.
For like me, I put mine out for at least an hour beforehand. So like you said, the mirror does start to cool down a little bit, so I don't get those wavy effects, quote unquote refraction. But I also use a camera that's actually cooled down 20 degrees below ambient temperature, so I get even less of that, heat coming off.
Mm.
And that's the thing, because Astronomy Live has also noticed that too. If you try to align on a star that's just above your roof, you'll actually see it start waving around because of atmospheric refraction. However, go to the hottest roof on the hottest day, and you will not see that star get misplaced by over 20 degrees. It doesn't happen. Yet that is exactly what the Morgal is appealing to.
Well, they just throw out the word refraction just to cause it as a flat Earth buzzword. It doesn't have
whenever
to
it suits them. Whenever it suits them, but
Oh,
whenever we
don't
try
worry,
to say, there's some refraction there, clearly showing, those cranes looking warped. Oh, well, refraction isn't what you think. Okay, whatever.
It's okay. They do the same thing to the word perspective.
Yeah.
You'll notice with flat earthers and precision, you'll notice during this whole conversation that Bob and the rest of the fucking clowns in there are all talking about the globe side has to give precise measurements for how many distance and blah, blah, blah. But then when it comes to their side, they just say refraction and there's no numbers involved. Is
no
whatever kind of goalposts I can move to kind of fit where I need to get the flat earth to fit in there, I'm going to score my goal.
Right, just before we quickly get on with the stupid, I just want to say that on Wednesday next week, I will be having Maddie from Science Side Up on the channel to go over her debate with Nathan Thompson that she had on Modern Day Debates. One of the most comprehensive destructions of Nathan Thompson I've ever seen. So if you haven't seen the debate, go and watch it, and watch someone who is an actual scientist and PhD candidate ruin a homeless man sitting in a car.
And void.
Right. And the other thing,
supposedly, how much, I don't know, maybe distances are between those gaps in the red lines to, you know.
Right. Well, they're also assuming about a 4,000 mile ceiling, right? They're saying, well, we're taking it from the flat Earth model. It's like, look, there are certain things that show the geometry to triangulate anywhere between 3,400 and 4,000 miles. But there are a myriad of factors that affect that. And it's all irrelevant anyway, because what you're doing when you align the EQ mount is you are literally aligning directly to Polaris itself. You're optically aligning it to that.
I'm sorry, but did he say that they've triangulated the position of the stars to between 3,400 and 4,000 miles?
Wow.
Yeah,
well, the good news is that when Slice Kane, I should say, made his model, he assumed a 5,000 kilometer high target. So right there, we're already giving them an extra 1,000 kilometers just because we're nice people. And these motherfuckers say that we're rude. Oh, that's adorable.
It's that flat Earth moving goalpost. You get it. You get them on one thing. They'll just say, "Well, it's not 4,000. It's about 6,000." Now do your math all over again, and we're going to ignore that shit too.
It's a pretty definitive claim, though, right? That you can triangulate the position of the Polaris to between 3,400 and 4,000. It was either miles or kilometers. But that's a very definitive claim that we can test, right?
Yeah, that's a definitive claim that is clearly demonstrably bullshit, because what this video on its own would demonstrate that claim is bullshit, because we are using polarities as a target in this.
Yeah.
All these lines could be thought of as pointing directly at Polaris. And if you were to plot these lines on a flat Earth, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now, you get contradictory answers. So the answer is no, you can't triangulate the distance or the height of Polaris this way. You simply can't do it, because any method that renders contradictory answers is not a method that can be relied upon, i.e. an assumption that the Earth is flat. Just by doing that, by assuming the Earth is flat and working from that point forward, you have fucked any chance you have of coming to a reasonable conclusion. You are constantly going to be cursed with contradictory answers.
Yeah.
Still, on the plus side, it's going to make populating other planets rather easy if they're only a few thousand miles away.
Oh, yeah. That's not going to take too much to get there. I think planes can do that kind of distance in a single journey. Yeah.
We just need, Wolfie, you just need to lift the nose up a bit, mate.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, no, just keep going in a straight line. You'll get into space that way anyway, right?
Well, interestingly, Polaris, we do the trip from Sydney to the US at least, once or twice every year. And I think that the second time I did the Sydney to Hawaii sector, after first encountering flat earthers, I made a conscious effort to see Polaris as it appeared over the horizon. And I distinctly remember that it was just becoming visible while I was still south of the equator, about 1 degree south of the equator. Now that also fits with the horizon dropping by more than 3 degrees. It was
Was that trip via Vega? Or was it direct?
No, stopping off at Vega and Polaris.
The old plane couldn't do Sydney to Denver direct, but the new one can do it easily. So we're going to miss out on
it could easily do, say, Sydney to Bernard Star then, if they're just 4,000 miles away in the dome. Yeah, no worries. Cool. We've got someone let Elon know we've got space travel licked.
You'll notice a theme with Bob. He just keeps saying it just points at Polaris. It just looks at Polaris. You just use eyepiece and put it on Polaris. It's a little bit more in depth than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, Wolfie did say he's going to do a tutorial on how to set it up properly. So, I mean, for me, honestly, I don't have a great knowledge of how EQ mounts work. I've never used them, and I've never studied them too deeply. So it's great to have people like you guys on that can, comprehensively explain this stuff. And I'm happy to just sit here and press the buttons. Now, let's move on and listen to some more stupid.
And I'm going to show that here in the next video. So this is just silly. This is just misdirection.
Yeah, it's literally so stupid that they point at Polaris and then it tracks its descent to the perceivable limit or horizon, and then it just continues to point at the ground like it knows the Earth's a ball. It's that stupid.
And the other problem is that this thing proves that there's only one thing rotating, which is the sky, obviously. But what about the other?
Wait, doesn't it do exactly the opposite? Because it wouldn't work rotating in one axis if the sky was the thing rotating.
I got something to kind of put on this thing for a model if people want to build it or not. If anybody wants to kind of test this out as a model, like a physical thing, put out like a flat Earth map or whatever, and then get like a hula hoop and put the hula hoop with what they think the altitude of the star, the sun is actually doing its little loop around, and pick whatever over a tropic of Cancer or Capricorn, whatever you want to do. But the whole idea is to put a model of a an EQ mount somewhere on the Earth, not on North Pole, but somewhere on the Earth, and then take a stick and have a stick go from that model and rest it on top of the hula hoop, and then take that stick and then rotate it around the hula hoop, and as it makes its circle, it's eventually going to have to start increasing the angle of it, because as that stick gets closer to the hula hoop and the EQ mount, it's actually going to start point up, and then as it goes past the observer, it has to start going back down again. It's a good way to test this thing as a physical.
So if the sky is moving, then it couldn't just track on the one axis. It would have to track on multiple axes.
I just kind of think, somebody wants to model this out, like, because they don't like CGI and computers and stuff.
No, I know.
Take a hula hoop and just put this little model EQ mount in there, and put a stick that will go from EQ mount to where the sun would be on the hula hoop, and just take your stick and just rotate it around the hula hoop and watch that angle of the stick change in relation to the mount itself.
So, how does it manage to track using just one axis? Could you just briefly explain that?
Okay, yeah. So it actually doesn't matter on a flat Earth, whether it's the Earth rotating underneath the dome sky or whether it's the sky actually doing the rotating over a stationary flat Earth. It doesn't matter. The EQ mount, in order to track any celestial object, will have to move 2 axes of rotation in order to track that celestial object. It doesn't matter if the sky is moving or if the Earth is moving. The same is true for the round Earth model. Whether the Earth is rotating or the sky is rotating around the Earth, we still have an axis. We still have an axis of reference. And that axis will make 2 celestial poles. And the only way to track celestial objects would be, in that model, the round Earth model, whether the Earth is rotating or not, whether it's the sky or the Earth, doesn't matter. The only way to track it using one axis of rotation is if that mount is on a curved Earth, around Earth. That is the only way you can make it work. So basically, this idea of geocentrism versus heliocentrism, it's really irrelevant. It's a non sequitur to this argument. Again, I'm not arguing for the motion of the planet. I'm arguing for its shape and its size. And I still have flat earthers to this day that can't seem to understand the difference. Take a ball, put it on the table. Is it moving? No. Has it stopped being a ball? No. Then why the fuck is this an argument?
Yeah, I mean, not saying that it isn't extremely easy to demonstrate that the Earth rotates. Can anyone think of anyone in particular that we might know of that's demonstrated?
Let me ask the guy. Hang on 1 second. Let me ask him. Hey Bob, can you tell us when you were doing the gyro test though, what did you find?
A 15-degree-per-hour drift.
Oh,
thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
The whole point, Craig, of the polar alignment with the equatorial mount, and this is so critical to get the polar alignment axis perfect, is because what you're actually trying to do is have that axis oriented precisely in the same axis as the rotational axis of the Earth. And if you get it perfectly, then the mount is just going to rotate in the opposite direction to the rotation of the Earth. It cancels the Earth's rotation, and that's why you won't get any drift or any field rotation in the mount. Now, you only have to be 1 degree off with your polar alignment axis, and the mount's really not going to work that well. The star will drift progressively as it moves across the sky. So the whole point of the polar alignment is to get that angle as precisely aligned with the Earth's rotational axis as possible. And that's why it can rotate. That's why it can follow any star in the sky using a single axis of rotation. On a flat Earth model, for example, the AE model, the only way or the only location that an equatorial mount could work as it does now is to have it located on the North Pole. That is the only point on the flat Earth where you're at the center of the rotation of the stars. And with the equatorial mount on the Earth, you're at the center of the point of rotation because it's the Earth that's rotating. It's not that the stars are rotating around you, it's the Earth is rotating. And we have even demonstrated that. I've done it, a few other people have done it. If you look at a series of lights, for example, an LED or a laser light with one of those diffraction covers that creates multiple lights on the ceiling, for example. If you have a camera and you rotate the camera, you will get circular star trails. But if you have the camera stationary and you rotate the laser, the star trails are ovals. And what we see in reality are circles. So again, it's a very simple proof that it's the camera, it's us that is rotating to produce these circular star trails.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Okay, more stupid.
Motions of the Earth around the Sun and all the other motions that should be scrambling those stars.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Indeed.
Exactly.
Well, and what's...
Oh God! Wait, did he just say about the fact that we've got the rotation of the Earth rotating around the sun around the galaxy, blah blah blah? The stars should not be in the same position exactly. This is like Flerf debunking 101. The stars this is very simple. The stars we see in the night sky are really close to us in the scheme of the galaxy. They are all orbiting around the center of the galaxy with us. There is no reason their relative position to us should change enough to see them whizzing around the sky. That's not what the heliocentric model expects. It's simple.
Look at a diagram of the Earth going around the sun that explains our seasons. On one side of our star, you'll see the axis pointing to Polaris. 25% around in our orbit, it's still pointing at Polaris. Halfway through our year, still pointing to Polaris. 75% through our year, still pointing to Polaris. Back to where you started, still fucking pointing at Polaris. The axis of rotation is always pointing to Polaris, no matter where we are in our orbit around the sun. So no shit, it's going to stay in the same part of the sky, dude.
You're just assuming that they can 3D though, Red.
Yeah, no, they can't think in 3D.
Oh, it's worse than that. It's actually worse than that. I'm assuming that they know how to Google.
Just out of insane curiosity, Bob did say you look through the eyepiece to center it, right?
Yeah, several times.
Okay, I just got something to say. He's fucking retarded because you don't sight through you don't sight Polaris through the goddamn telescope. You sight it through the mount.
Right.
Correct.
There's a hole in the mount just for the there's a hole in the mount specifically designed for you to put a special scope in there. That if you want to use the cheaper route, which is basically looks like crosshairs kind of thing, or you can use something more advanced, like I use the QHY Polemaster setup. But Bob is fucking full of shit if you think you're just going to take your telescope and look through your telescope and put some crosshairs on there and do your polar alignment. You do your polar alignment from the mount, not from the telescope.
You could have finished that sentence with "Bob is full of shit." Now, quickly, there's someone in the chat. There's someone in the chat called F.World who, someone a flat earther in the chat called F.World who claims that all stars rotate around Polaris. Now, Wolfie, remind me, from Australia, can you see Polaris?
I can't. And if I ask my telescope to point to Polaris, it points to 34 degrees below the horizon in a northerly direction. So yeah, absolutely, I cannot.
If you look at the stars, what point do they rotate around?
The South Celestial Pole. I think I've shown that in one of my previous videos when I was up in Broome. I did a nice zoom in on the South Celestial Pole and proved that they rotate around that point.
So they wouldn't be rotating around Polaris then? Yes. Interesting.
Just want to make sure clear for any flat earthers going to whine in the fucking background eventually when they hear this. Yes, we're talking about the South Celestial Pole. He's not talking about an actual physical pole star. He's talking about a certain place within the fucking Southern Cross.
Yeah.
I just sent you a message. Craig, I just sent you a message on WhatsApp. I don't know if you get it, but it's a link to a web page that shows the actual alignment reticle that I have in my telescope. So it'll show you how the mount is aligned with reference to Polaris or the South Celestial Pole.
Yeah, like I said, I use QHY Pole Master for mine.
Yeah,
this is the scope I use.
That's this one that you've just sent me. So what are we seeing here?
That's the one. That's the one. Now it's got different markings for the North and the South Celestial Pole, and you can also see the little series of dates for the coming decades, which is showing the different position of Polaris.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very handy. Okay.
Something like
awesome.
That.
Right.
Hey, speaking of, just to interrupt real fast, hey, it's good to finally talk with you, Wolfie, on we never actually talked on a live hangout or anything like that, and it's also good to meet you too, Mr. Serious.
Mr. Serious.
It's Mr. Sensible. He's the other one.
Oh, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Good evening. Good to meet you too, guys.
Yeah.
It's my nickname for you anyway, so.
No worries. It's nicer than a nickname I get from Flat Earthers anyway, so that's all right.
Yeah, you probably don't remember me, but a while back you were having a flat Earth discussion with somebody, and I was trying in the chat really hard to send you some astrophotography pictures, but you have a special thing for your mods, so I didn't get to send you those.
Okay. Right, well, you can always hook up with me through my server anyway, my Discord.
Hey, Roger.
Or his
back to the show.
OnlyFans page. So that works as well.
Sorry, what's so funny, too, my friend Brian put together a Facebook page. He put a ton of work into his research and documented everything, but the Facebook page is called $5,000 NASA Eclipse Challenge. And one of the things that he surmised is that using Eratosthenes' method of, triangulating on the sun and stuff, he got, and again, he wasn't figured in refraction either, like I mentioned, so I don't adhere to these numbers, but the numbers that he got for the distance to like either the sun or the moon, or I guess you could probably even put Polaris in there, was virtually identical to the spherical radius of the ball Earth. So there is some correlation here between, the trickery of refraction and the spherical radius of the ball Earth. I think he got 3926 miles to the sun. So isn't that interesting?
Wait, doesn't the mount also have a gyro?
No, no, it's not gyro. I don't think it has a gyro in it. No.
Isn't that something Bob should know?
I mean,
Bob's fucking retarded.
He did say 3926 miles to the sun.
Mount.
Yes, he did.
And by the way, we don't use measurements from Eratosthenes. We've gotten a little more advanced since then, since Eratosthenes' time.
What did he say there? Oh,
he again brought up refraction. And I'm dude, in order for refraction to save your ass here, you would have to assume that we're dealing with a refractive index of over 20 degrees. The worst refraction on the worst day is only going to get you a fraction of a single degree. And you want us to be 20 degrees out of place?
Especially if you're looking up at the stars and stuff, right? Because you're not going to get the same kind of refractive conditions that you get looking out over water, for instance. Because
correct, you're actually going to get a lot less. You're actually
exactly.
going to get a lot less. But he is assuming that you're going to get, you know, more, not just a little more, but a lot more. We're talking about a factor of, what did I say previously, 176. So basically, he's assuming that the refractive index that you would see when looking up at the sky is 176 times worse than what you would get on the worst possible day looking over, like, let's say, the lake to see the Chicago skyline mirage from Warren Dunes.
You notice that Bob never, I'm trying to say how they never explain us how it works on a flat Earth. They always bitch about it with the globe, but they never quite explain how this works with a flat Earth.
That's flat Earth standard, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah, but did you ever
debate with
But
flat
did you catch where Bob did all these distances, like the sun is so high and this and blah 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 blah?
Yeah, they're definitely making a lot of definitive claims in this, aren't they?
No, but you never hear him say we took refraction into account to get these numbers.
True.
They also aren't considering radio telescopes.
Or just fucking radar.
Or that you shouldn't drink lead paint.
Don't eat the crayons. Crayolas are not edible.
Even the purple
It's very
ones.
simple. Yeah,
Well, they need to get enough greens, don't they?
Well, anyway, what I do know is that there's going to be
there's
going to be another claim coming up that I want to rip apart. So if we can, more stupid.
Yes.
But here's the real problem with it, guys, is that he's using this side view, right? The side view that nobody uses, right? We don't look at the world through the side view, or the I forgot the term for this particular view. I'm sure one of you guys knows it, but orthographic view, yeah, or Muppet vision. There you go. We don't use Muppet vision or the orthographic view. We actually.
Reg, you use Muppet vision. That's what orthographic views is. Muppet vision, apparently.
Apparently, guys, diagrams are part of the conspiracy. Hide your kids.
But they'll use orthographic.
Are they really complaining?
Again, it's because they can't
using...
visualize 3D. You're looking from the side.
Oh my god. Yeah, again, I'm doing that thing where I have to reevaluate how dumb I think they are and take it down a notch. I mean,
yeah, I do that every time I look at one of their videos.
We use our line of sight through perspective. So what we're actually looking at is, we're not looking at this orthographic view looking up towards Polaris. We're looking at a completely different view, which this has nothing to do with, right?
Have you ever looked at something side on to see? This reminds me of God, where was it? It was one of the conferences, and I don't remember. Maybe it was. I don't know if it was Dallas or maybe it was even Canada. But somebody had brought a telescope, and they were looking at the moon. So a bunch of people outside were all looking at the moon. And I walked down the parking lot, and I looked back at the telescope. Have you ever? And I would encourage people to do this today. Like, if you have any kind of telescope-looking thing or some sort of tube, line it up across your street, point it at the moon, and then walk across the street and look sideways on. And it's not even close to aimed in the right direction. It's so weird. I wouldn't be able to describe it. And then I yelled at them, like, "Are you actually pointed at the moon?" Like, yeah. And when you stood back from the side, it looked like they were aimed way off.
Exactly. Dude, and think about this, like, you're just looking up at the sky, tracking its movement, assuming that you're not moving to compile any of the data, and then just saying that's all backwards.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead and pause that right there. And this is something I wanted to highlight, guys, because what Jeranism just did, and that was Jeranism, by the way, what Jeranism just did was confirm what I've been saying since the very beginning. Your senses are not super accurate when it comes to shit like this. Your eyes are not protractors.
Yeah.
Again, when you look at the equipment that Wolfie uses, that Geistview uses, that Astronomy Live uses, you don't need to eyeball it or guess. The mount will actually tell you what your elevation angle is. It will tell you exactly where you're pointing. That's where you can get those measurements from. It's almost as if we don't just eyeball it and hope for the best. We have tools and equipment that can tell us the actual value.
Yeah, and there's a slight difference between eyeballing the angle of the camera looking at the moon to plotting it out on a graph, right?
Yeah, and of course, this entire when I made this video, this was underneath the assumption that you would use the EQ mount to make your measurements. You wouldn't just eyeball it. Again, I would never suggest, ever suggest that anyone just eyeball a measurement and hope for the best. You're not going to get accurate results with that.
If you're seeing through this,
the EQ mount, the EQ mount has the ability to tell you what those angles are. And what I did was I plotted those exact same angles on that graph. Just because you're looking at it side on doesn't mean that those angles are false or fabricated or whatnot. Those are actual data points plotted on a graph to show you that Polaris would have to be in multiple different spots at the exact same time on your bullshit flat Earth.
Right, more stupid.
Exactly. So yes, orthographic view versus first-person perspective, right? Looking at it from our perspective, which of course, not only does the math.
And Wolfie, go ahead.
No, I just made a little crack. I think Mr. Blofeld just entered the chat. Sorry.
I expect you to die, Mr. Wolfie.
Exactly.
Change, but the visual changes completely. You know, because when we look at things, our perspective causes the horizon to rise, the top to drop, and the sides to pull in, like looking down a set of railroad tracks. But they constantly do this, and the thing that they don't account for, which absolutely floors me, is we know for a fact that if you have something that's over your head and you're looking at it, and if it's staying perfectly at the same level, it will appear to rise on the horizon, hit its peak elevation over the top of you, and then drop back down to the horizon as it goes further. This is what our true perspective actually shows, and this is called the what did you term it, Jaron? The dome, not the dome of vision.
Personal atmospheric dome.
Oh, thank you. Personal atmospheric dome, right?
The personal atmospheric dome. That's right.
So basically, we're going into magical personal atmospheric dome bullshit, along with a misunderstanding of what perspective actually is. Again, perspective. The law of perspective is alpha equals 2 times the arctan of g over 2r. Alpha is the angular size of the object. G is the actual size of the object. R is the distance to the object. The law of perspective does not state that as an object gets further away from you, it will eventually disappear bottom first and then eventually out of sight. What it says is that the available resolution of your eye will eventually become insufficient for you to make out the object. It doesn't mean that an object is going to arbitrarily appear in a different part of the sky. If I draw a triangle that is the cone of my vision, there is a center line through that triangle. No matter how far I stretch that triangle, that field of view, I will always have a center line that can bisect that triangle. That is our line of sight. That does not change. Bob, you do not know perspective. You should stop pretending that you do. And keep
I got a couple of questions for Wolfie.
Yeah.
Hey, Wolfie, were you a tornado driver, pilot?
No, not the tornado.
You were in the Australian Air Force?
I was for a brief time, yes.
Did you released ordnance, right? Training, real life, I guess. Maybe not real life.
I don't want to sound dramatic, but what I did in the RW, I really am not able to talk about.
Okay, I'm just trying to get to the point. So when you're in your little, because I was an air defender, so we used to shoot you guys down. But anyways, so when you guys, when you're up there flying and you're targeting something with, a laser, and you doing all the calculations, did you ever take an account of the personal atmospheric dome into account when you're releasing ordnance?
No, never. No, we never considered the personal atmospheric dome.
And
never.
Did you ever have to take into account personal atmospheric dome if you had a soldier on the ground who was remote designating a target for you that you can see the remote designating a target, and you can see from the aircraft and release your ordnance. You don't have to be on a station too long. That the munition tracks itself to target.
It does not even factor in. Does not even factor in.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure that atmospheric dome wasn't actually taking account for
However,
these two different perspectives.
If atmospheric domes are a real thing, I'd just like to say I'm starting my new atmospheric dome insurance company. Please come to me with your atmospheric dome insurance claims, because I'm sure all these domes everyone's got are going to be, hitting into each other and stuff. So don't worry, come to FTFE personal dome insurance, and we'll make sure that Anyway, that's the joke. Back to stupid.
PAD, the personal atmospheric dome, which is exactly how we actually do say things. And Ir's going to have an illustration for that here in a few minutes, as well as we're going to show you some stuff from pBrain that shows how our perspective actually works, and why the EQ mount works because of that. But because of the fact that if we were truly on a ball, and they don't actually take our real perspective into account, there is no way that the EQ mount could possibly ever work on a ball.
Stop.
Because of the way that they say that it works.
Yeah.
It simply would not work. So, and it's so simple, guys. It's so simple.
Sorry, yeah.
Bob doesn't fucking understand that the EQ mount doesn't give a rat's fuck about your personal perspective on anything. It's a fucking piece of equipment. It points in one thing only. It doesn't contemplate your perspective, horizon drops, and it doesn't give a rat's ass. It just points in the fucking direction.
What's weird is that when Astronomy Live is using his EQ mount and Wolfie's using his EQ mount and Geistview uses his EQ mount, they don't take any of Bob's bullshit into account, and yet it still works. Imagine that.
Do you think Bob takes any of his bullshit into account when he's using his EQ mount?
No. I will bet actual money that Bob doesn't take his own bullshit into account when he's using his own EQ mount, assuming he knows how to
Why
use
don't I have to calculate atmospheric dome perspective when I'm setting this up? That's weird.
Yeah, he doesn't take into account his personal dome or his Flerfs or the 20 or so degrees of refraction. He doesn't take any of that into account, and yet when we ignore all of this bullshit, we still have a working mount that can produce some gorgeous images like what we see on Geistview's Twitter.
But you get, like I said, Bob's so fucking retarded. He doesn't even he doesn't polar align Polaris correctly. He does it through his telescope, not through the mount like you're supposed to, because that's where the actual pivot point is. It's not in your fucking telescope.
Does Orphan Red have two personal domes then?
See what you did there.
One's red, one's blue.
Oh, Professor Funbags.
I send you an image, Craig. I send you an image, Craig, of the Orion Nebula that I had from my own telescope in Sydney. And interestingly, when I showed that to a number of flat earthers, they told me that it was fake CGI, and I had taken it with my own camera. It's just their claims are just absolutely ridiculous. And what you were saying earlier, Reds, about the perspective. The basic concept is that as things are further away, they look smaller. And yet we have shown numerous times, I've got a time lapse of the sun from sunrise to sunset all day with my solar telescope, proving that the sun does not change size. But it also applies to the angular spacing between stars all night. You can see the stars rising on the east and setting on the west, but the angular spacing between two given stars does not change during the night. And if we had a rotating dome, then it absolutely would, and we could measure that.
I also want to point you guys to a video that Wolfie did, and it's by far one of my favorite videos of his. He made a scale drawing of the International Space Station, and what he did was he wanted to show that the P900 was strong enough, was powerful enough to see a ISS transit, whether that be a solar transit or a lunar transit. And he actually took the law of perspective into account. And guess what? The law of perspective did not, in any way, shape, or form in his video, bend the object's position. So not only does it show that the Nikon P900 is strong enough to capture the ISS, because a lot of people call that fake for some reason. Well, obvious reason. They are flat earthers and they don't want to believe it. But Wolfie's use of perspective that did not take into account a 20-degree shift in position. So, Bob, you're talking out your ass. We have shown over and over and over again that we have the proper understanding of perspective and you don't. When you have to bring in personal domes and magical refraction that's so wildly off scale, again, you're wrong by a factor of 176 on a fucking good day, it looks like. You are essentially talking out your ass and proving to anyone that you don't know what you're talking about, especially when you don't take these into account when aligning your own equatorial telescope mount.
Flat earthers don't know what they're talking about. Surprise, surprise. And I'm just showing the image now that Wolfie sent me, his own image of the Orion Nebula that flat earthers told him was CGI.
That's absolutely fabulous, Wolfie.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that.
I can send you my Orion.
Yeah. Oh, we got an Orion off.
But give me a second. I got to mute.
All right, but
okay, this is what I was going to say. You ever notice that the flat Earth mantra seems to be, if you can't prove it, redefine it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pull out a dictionary.
And also make up possibilities for what may be going on that are not actually possible. You're not going to see a refractive index of over 20 degrees. It doesn't exist, guys. It doesn't exist. But yet this dude wants to invoke magical flirspective that shifts objects out of view for some fucking reason. No one knows how that works. Magic unicorn farts, I guess. Personal domes that he doesn't take into account when aligning his own scope. And trying to make the claim that any evidence that we show them is CGI. Basically, what we're dealing with here is the most intellectually dishonest characters on the internet. They are the most intellectually dishonest characters on the internet. They're 100%. Selling you a bullshit story. And if they were to accept the facts of our reality, they wouldn't be able to sell you that bullshit story because reality doesn't agree with the bullshit story that they're trying to sell you. Again, personal domes, magical atmospheric refractions, flirspective.
Moon dug out of the Grand Canyon by giants.
It seems like they're reaching, and what we're seeing here is a classic textbook example of desperation.
You got it wrong there. What we see is Quantum Erasure giving Nathan Oakley a reach around. Yeah. Right, so more stupid.
To look at it, to see how it tracks, and then put that in our personal atmospheric dome, our perspective, and it tracks perfectly on a single axis all the way across it. So let's continue on.
Now, I'm not willing to accept a contradictory answer like that, so let's take a look at the same exact points as plotted on a globe.
Yeah, maybe you should use the right math, Reds.
And would you look at that? Same points,
Reds?
Same line of altitude relative to their local...
Coming from somebody that doesn't know what the law of perspective is, yeah, go figure.
What math did you get wrong?
Yeah, exactly. You said, oh, please use the right math. Well, then show me the right math. Oh, wait, Bob, you can't do that. You can't do math.
At least fucking flat earthers, Bob, publish some kind of fucking chart or some kind of table that takes this shit into account so I can at least, on my equipment, test yours against the globe model and see which one actually does. But no cheating, Bob. You can't like copy and paste out the globe shit and then put it in your PDF and then say, this is the flat earth. No.
Yeah, flat earthers, obviously, they need to tell everybody because obviously no one knows how to properly align their EQ mount. And you're the only ones with the answer. So please, chart these things out for us and stuff. That'd be great.
Level, yet we see no contradiction here. In fact, this is what we would expect to see when focused on the pulsar Polaris.
Right. So what they've done here is instead of taking the personal atmospheric dome, which also looks like this, they've simply reversed it and said, no, it's not our vision that's causing these points to arc like this. It is actually the Earth curvature, right?
Excuse me, the fuck did he just say?
What was that word salad?
I don't know. Would you like some dressing with it?
Yes, please. Do you have Thousand Island?
Dressing, yeah.
I mean, that was some word salad right there. I mean, jeez.
He just said that the curve of the Earth is the points of light curving. I can't even unpack the amount of stupid that he just. I need to go back at where.
Yeah. Please, please replay that because I want to make sure I'm not having a stroke.
The same exact points as plotted on a globe.
Yeah, maybe you should use the right math, Reds.
And would you look at that? Same points, same line of altitude relative to their local level, yet we see no contradiction here. In fact, this is what we would expect to see when focused on the pole star Polaris.
Right, so what they've done here is instead of taking the personal atmospheric dome, which also looks like this, they've simply reversed it and said, no, it's not our vision that's causing these points to arc like this, it is actually the Earth curvature.
Wait, what? So the thing that I used, which was a graph that modeled the actual size of the Earth to scale, is also what your personal atmospheric dome looks like.
You notice that Bob and them don't have any counter graph to show what the personal atmospheric dome would look like with this effect.
Yeah, this is why we initially made the claim that what they just said was absolute fucking word salad, because it is. It's absolute word salad. I mean, after listening to it again, I think that I'm having a stroke.
I think he's trying to say that the angle that you get pointing at Polaris is what you say the Earth curve is.
By coincidence. Have they never heard of Mr. Ockham and his razor?
I mean, I guess not, but hang on. So the personal dome looks like my graph, so it's correct, but my graph is wrong because reasons.
I mean, the only way it looks like a personal dome is I imagine a personal dome would also be curved, and there's a curved... That's like the loosest association between things ever. Oh, look, this is what a personal dome looks like. No, that's not what that is, Bob. I don't even think he realizes that that's the surface of the Earth you've mapped out there. That's the problem here. I genuinely don't think they realize what they are looking at.
They can say whatever they want. They can say whatever they want because they know that the target audience has absolutely no clue on the topic or what they're talking about, and they just need the comfort of being told that, yes, this confirms flat Earth. They literally just talk rubbish, and the audience is not smart enough to understand that what they're hearing is rubbish.
Plus, of course, Red, you've used Muppet Vision, haven't you?
Oh, of course. I mean, no. I didn't use Muppet Vision. According to Bob, I use personal atmospheric dome vision. Whatever the fuck.
And the wrong math, but he'll never say what the correct math is. It's just words.
And the thing that gets me is,
I guess I need to brush up on my word salad there because, like I said, even after hearing it a second time, I don't know what Bob is getting at.
The thing is, though, Bob will say something as incredibly unintelligible as that, and everyone else just goes, yeah, good one, Bob, you're right. Like, it's like listening to my kids talk. I don't know what they're saying half the time because they're using words that are slang in Roblox or something, and I had a conversation with my daughter earlier, and the other day, and she was saying the word obby. And I did not know what she was on about. And she was getting annoyed because I didn't understand her. But apparently obby is short for obstacle course in a Roblox game. And I imagine that's what it's like with Flerfs when they're talking. They understand the little language they've got, but nobody else does.
I guess I have to... I'm sorry. If this was a game show... I would have to phone a friend, so I'm going to phone a friend real quick. Hey, effed up world in the chat. I need someone of their intellectual caliber to translate whatever the fuck they just said into actual English. So if you could, help us out and translate what the fuck Bob just said, that would be great.
Yeah, my God.
I don't even think Bob fucking knows what he said. I doubt he could fucking repeat it.
No.
Right? Sorry, Charlie, because this may work if there was no perspective involved, but because of the fact that you're not going to change the way that cameras work and the way that our eyes actually work, which would actually double up on this effect, you would get another dome even over the top of this, which would completely eliminate the EQ melt.
Wait, what? Hold on. Because both our eyes and cameras work the same, you would get a double personal dome effect.
Okay.
Now I'm sure I'm having a stroke because no human could say something that stupid.
I made a request in the chat for Effed Up World to translate what we just heard a few moments ago. No, actually, Effed Up World, I'm going to need you to translate what that was instead, because holy shit.
How you could test this whole fucking perspective shit? Polar align your telescope properly like that, and then fucking put a big piece of tape over the polar alignment scope, and then see if the fucking telescope tracks like it's supposed to. Is if it's not seeing anything, I guess it's not fucking perspective.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe it's because, you know, the people in this call, we aren't brain damaged enough to understand what they mean. Maybe it's our fault, you know?
I guess, but, you know, Bob is just saying words at this point. He's just saying words. None of this shit makes sense.
Yeah, they're definitely
And
words.
way,
I mean, I'm not sure they should be in that order, but, you know.
By the way, I just want to point this out that Bob is making the claim that my math is wrong, that I'm not taking Flerspective into account, that I'm not taking into account the personal atmospheric dome, whatever the fuck that means. But yet my model matches exactly what we would expect to see on a round Earth.
That's
Quite
just
a
coincidence. That's just coincidence.
Oh, one hell of a coincidence.
Absolutely, right. And that's what it boils down to. That's what it boils down to is the guaranteed way that the flat earthers can prove their theory is to show us a physical model that demonstrates every aspect of the equatorial mount working flawlessly. The polar alignment angle matching latitude, the single axis constant rate tracking any star in the sky. Now, we have done that with the globe model, and I have videos back 2017, 2018, where I set a number of challenges for the equinox and for equatorial mounts. And we had a lot of entries from people actually physically modeling the equatorial mount working on a globe, and it works flawlessly. But still, to date, they cannot even come close to demonstrating that on a flat earth model. It's all just empty words, as we heard from Bob. It's just deflection, distraction, obfuscation. Just show us a physical model. You can't do it. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I got something to bring. I got some old dirty laundry to bring up for you, Wolfie. Hey, remember back when you offered to bring have Bob come over and fly whatever you need? We're going to fly and go do something, and then we kind of figured out reason why Bob kind of turned you down on flying something. Just want to put that out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Did earlier. It was lovely.
He when I first came into Flat Earth, I was just inundated by flat earthers telling me about Bob Nodell, the commercial pilot. I even had one flat earther say, "Oh, Jaron and Bob are going to tear you to shreds." You know, I said, "Oh yeah, bring it on, guys." And my first conversation with Bob, I started asking him the most basic aviation questions, like things that a junior private pilot would know. And he just ran. And so I kind of went over to his channel and I started asking him the same question. And the next day, all the comments were gone. So I thought, yeah, okay, this guy's just another amateur, if he's a pilot at all. And I'm still waiting 4 years later, 4+ years later, for a real flat earth pilot who is willing to come and debate me on actual flight planning.
I would gladly host that because that would be amazing. Right, more stupid.
Yeah, I'd love working at all.
You know what's remarkable about this whole presentation that they crafted here, for me at least, is that whereas like when we look at something like from Ben conspiracy, taboo conspiracy, where you get observation, you get data, you get actual observations, and you can compare. Here we have the halfway through the video, we had this orthographic view, plotting paper with lines, vectors, things that have nothing to do with reality whatsoever. So far, nothing. Google map, some lines on it, some driving numbers, angles, right?
Yeah.
Right, so data from real world observations has nothing to do with reality, apparently.
That's what I heard. So basically, because I'm able to plot measurements that we get from reality on a graph, therefore my graph does not match or comport with reality. Are you high?
Maybe I'm not high enough. Maybe that's.
I guess so, because here I was told to go out, do my observations, make measurements. But the very moment I put those measurements to a graph to see what matches and what doesn't, they say I'm doing it wrong. I guess I'm not very. I guess I'm not skilled enough in the art of pulling random shit out of my ass and not doing proper investigations like flat earthers do on a constant basis. I kind of have this thing where I want to, you know, make sure what I'm showing or make sure that what I'm saying matches the data that I was able to get in reality.
That's flat earthers all over, isn't it? I mean, I sent up the Mage probe with 2 wide-angle cameras and a narrow-angle lens, which is the Mage camera. And just a couple of days ago, there's another comment on there saying, you know, it means absolutely nothing because you're using a fisheye lens. They just it's criticize.
Just read the fucking
and what the hell have they
description.
Done? Yeah,
It's the same thing that happened with Bob Skiva. He went up and did the same thing, and it shows fucking perfect Earth curve. Nah, it's something else I got to fucking bitch about.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, you go out, you do your observations, sensible. You show the footage, and I show the measurements on the fucking graph. These are measurements that we got in reality, and then I explain what the graph is showing and explaining that these are not arbitrary numbers. This is shit that has actually been measured repeatedly. But they say that because I'm able to plot it, because I'm able to show it in this way, that therefore the data is wrong somehow. No, it's not. It's not wrong. What I'm
get
doing
data
is
from the real world and plot it. It's wrong.
Yeah. What I'm doing is that I want to make sure that I illustrate reality correctly in the best way I possibly can. Making a graph, making a diagram, making a model is how we do that. And these guys are saying, oh, because you're able to plot it, because you're able to make a model, because you're able to show it in this way, that therefore it's wrong because reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as well as my Mage sort of cut down experimental video that was shown, showing the curve, I released 2 full-length uncut versions from the wide camera and from the Mage camera, to the extent that when Mage landed, the film still keeps running real time for 30 minutes, just pointing at grass until the point when I picked it up. And I also made the telemetry data available. All I got to do is email me, and that's on all the videos, tell them how they can get hold of the telemetry data. Do you know how many flat earthers have actually emailed me for the telemetry data?
Is it somewhere between none and absolutely none?
Yes, and I counted it twice to be sure.
Yeah.
Not one.
So basically they're saying that the only data that they will accept is data that you can't plot on a graph. Wow.
Yeah, that
wow.
makes perfect sense.
We're looking for quality right there.
Oh God, I just can't even imagine being this dumb.
Absolutely. They do not. Boy, Austin keeps dropping in and out, but I got you, Austin.
Yeah, my bad. I don't even know what's going on. I have
Austin,
good service on iPad. It's kicked me out. It's tripping.
No worries. Well, when you come back in, it goes boop. So I just add you back in. So no worries. So anyway, so what they've done is they have replaced the personal atmospheric dome with the Earth curvature, right? Because it just so happens that it works out that way, right? And by the way, guys, if you did not see the video that I mirrored from.
Yeah, I just want to be clear to Bob. No, all I did was I plotted the altitude angles on a round Earth. I didn't take into account your personal atmospheric dome. I did not reverse engineer your personal atmospheric dome. I don't even know what the fuck you mean when you say personal atmospheric dome.
It's just so fucking stupid.
Dr. Zach, or Decimal Z, I should say, just a few days ago. That really goes a long ways towards explaining this particular phenomenon and what also we're going to be talking about on Wednesday. It was absolutely brilliant, and Zach very much understands the geometry behind this. But all they have done here is simply reverse the personal atmospheric dome and replaced it instead with the so-called curvature of the Earth. And of course, the problem with this is
that's the thing that we've taken the atmospheric dome, reversed it, and replaced it with the curvature of the Earth.
I don't even know what he means when he says personal atmospheric dome. How the living fuck am I supposed to reverse engineer something that he pulled out of his ass?
Would you want to?
Can anybody else smell toast?
Dude is even talking about? And he says, oh, Red's rhetoric is so dishonest that he reverse engineered the personal atmospheric dome. Meanwhile, Red's rhetoric is on a different stream saying, what the fuck are you talking about, personal atmospheric dome? Like, literally, what are you talking about?
I don't even know where to begin with this amount of stupid. Is this a new claim that we've replaced the atmospheric dome with the curve of the Earth? That's not something I've heard before.
That again, word salad. It's crazy to me that the dude is literally saying words right now, and I bet in his mind he's like, oh yeah, that sounds smart, that sounds intelligent. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be proud when I do it.
my question is, how are they adults? Like, seriously, how have they not, like, I don't know, stabbed themselves in the eye with a rusty fork several times throughout their childhood? It blows my mind that these are functioning humans in the real world.
All I want at this point is just an accurate definition for a personal atmospheric dome. And by the way, that definition needs to include how you take it into account when using an equatorial telescope mount. I bet fucking money on this shit that Bob Nodell will be able to do it. He will not be able to do it. He will run away from that challenge. Bob, here's the thing. I'm saying this live right now. Let me know if you want to take me up on this offer. I'm going to give you the flat Earth version of Pascal's wager. $1,000 on the table right now. You have a month. 1 month from now, $1,000 is yours instantly for the low price of describing to me personal atmospheric dome, whatever the fuck that is, and how you would take it into account when using an equatorial telescope mount.
Red,
$1,000, let me know.
I don't know right now, Red, but can I have a go for $1,000? I'm willing to have a crack at it.
You may not be aware, Reds, but the personal atmospheric dome actually came from one of Walter Bisland's calculators, where he shows a flat Earth model, and he shows that he actually shows a little animation of a dome, but the purpose of that dome was to allow you to understand the altitude and the azimuth of objects in the sky. And it shows a dome, and it shows the position of the moon. I can't find the calculator now, but I'll try and dig it up at some point, put it in the comments below. But it was that actual calculator that shows a little dome, and you can go to different locations on the Earth and the dome will follow you. And I know that was the foundation that they've looked at, completely failed to understand what the calculator was showing, completely misinterpreted what was actually being demonstrated. And that's where the personal atmospheric dome claim came from.
Yeah, well, I guess I should make this very clear. What I don't want is a reverse engineer of the globe model. I don't want something that's shoehorned to work. I want something that accurately describes what a personal atmospheric dome actually is, and I want numbers to go along with it. I want numbers where I can take this shit into account when using an equatorial mount. I guarantee you he will not be able to do it. He is pulling shit out of his ass.
Right, correct. More stupid.
Because we have never been able to find the curvature of the Earth, guys. So you think that before you start assuming, this R value, or that there is even any curvature, that you should probably want to find it first, which we've never have found it.
We have shown the curve of the Earth, dumbass.
If you're seeing through this hole, through the next hole, and seeing the light at the backboard, or 17 feet off the water, the Earth is flat.
He's
if
tall,
he's holding
man.
it up at 23 feet high and we're seeing the light, well, that's because the Earth's curved. So I should only be able to see it when it's at 17 feet. Okay, go ahead and drive down there, Enrique. You're going to hold the light there. Enrique, how high is your light?
17 feet.
I mean, it's as... we don't see you, Enrique. Lift up your
Everyone
light
get ready.
way above
Say
your
it
head.
all together.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Interesting there.
So this is just complete fantasy. Let's continue.
It's
which
lovely.
is very, very, very far away. Zooming in a bit, you can see the angles listed that were plotted for each location. They are the same angles that were used.
It's lovely that Bob is telling us that we need to go and prove the curve first when one of the guys in the call that he's with has done it for us, right?
Oh, they didn't just prove that the Earth curved. They also proved that the Earth was curved and it rotated. And all of this was seen in the exact same documentary. And I'm sorry, my memory is not good, you know, in my old age. Bob, a quick question, you know, if you can, you know, be a dear, can you please tell me, what did you find when you used that ring laser gyro?
A 15-degree-per-hour drift.
In the previous model. So, between the two models, it's clear which model I trust more. This shows the true shape of our planet. But with this data, we can go even further. We can also confirm the size of the Earth. So let's use our data to find a value for the radius. At the start of our trip in Walhalla, North Dakota, we recorded an altitude angle of 48.9 degrees. At the end of our trip in Alice, Texas, we recorded an altitude angle of 27.75 degrees. This gives us a difference of 21.15 degrees.
Okay, now I'm going to do...
One thing, the funny thing is that he measured the curvature of the Earth looking at the sky.
Right.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry, is that a fucking problem?
But you weren't measuring the curve of the Earth at that point. You're just talking about the degrees you got to look at Polaris with.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, but flat earthers seem to misunderstand this very, very basic fact. How you observe above your head can tell you a lot about what is under your feet. Jeranism found this out the hard way when he lost that debate with me.
Oh, that's one of the best debates ever.
I just sent you Walter Bislin's calculator, Craig, just on WhatsApp. And if you bring it up and click on the stars button, you'll see the origin of the personal atmospheric dome. But what it actually is demonstrating is that the angles do not work on a flat Earth.
Ah, I see. All right, let me just quickly put that up. Display one.
Of course, Jeranism went to all that time and trouble of filming the transit of the ISS across, well, both the sun and the moon. With his own equipment, he went to the right place where it was predicted he'd see it, the right time, and he imaged it beautifully. And then just didn't believe what he himself had done.
Exactly.
That's because he didn't do what I did, which was have, you know, intellectual honesty.
Flat earthers of intellectual honesty. Oh, right. So even with the atmospheric dome personal one, the Polaris would still be in the right place. Walter Bislin is far too smart.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, hijack perspective.
Okay, gonna measure the curvature of on the ground. Look at the sky.
Yeah, sorry, one sec.
I got an email from Walter after I did my cockpit tour of the aircraft, showing how to turn on every switch, how to power up the APU, how to start the engines, how to shut it down. I got an email from Walter saying, I watched that, I memorized every point, and I think I could do it. And I absolutely believe him. It takes me months to memorize that.
He's a ridiculously smart guy. I tried following the calculations that he used for when he modeled Soundy's observations of Lake Pontchartrain. And he's way smarter than me. I wish I was as smart as him. But anyway, more stupid.
Yeah, no doubt. So hang on a second. 25,920.
On that Zach video, Bob, one thing that's interesting as well is that if the sun is a sphere, it could never have parallel rays, period. And rays is like the idea that what comes out of the sun is rays or vectors. It's also a total, like, what? It's not reality, man.
Right. Now, let me show you something. When you take this 21.15 degrees and you multiply it times the 69.169444 degrees or miles per degree, so we go times 21.15. We get 1,462 miles. Now his driving directions, his driving distances were nearly 200 miles off from that. So I just wanted to mention that. So let's continue forward.
Now let's imagine.
What is he even going on about?
He's trying to again make the claim that my shit is wrong and that I should be embarrassed that's wrong because there was an error of about 8%. Let's play the video because I think he plays that I actually addressed this point.
Right, okay.
I addressed it before he even fucking...
between our first and last stop to get the total distance between these 2 points. Granted, it's not a perfect line that would bring a mathematician joy, but it's good enough for our purposes. We're just looking to get within striking distance of the actual answer. So, with that said, the total distance we drove was 2...
Pause it.
Yep.
See, right there. This is not a perfect line that would bring a mathematician joy, but it's good enough for our purposes. We are just looking to get within striking distance of the actual answer. Apparently, this is the part that Bob conveniently decided to ignore when he was making his stupid as fuck comment.
2,542.76 kilometers. Now, if 21.15 degrees equals 2,542.76 kilometers, what does 360 degrees equal? To find out, we will use this equation. 2,542.76 over 21.15 equals x over 360. Doing the math and solving for x, this gives us an answer for the circumference of the Earth, which comes to 43,281 kilometers. If we take that value and divide it by 2 pi, we will get a value for the radius of the Earth. Solving this out, we get 6,888 kilometers. The accepted value is 6,371 kilometers, which means despite our imperfect method, we are within 8% of the accepted value. Not bad at all, and there you have it, a value for r.
So, right there, despite our imperfect method, I acknowledge that this wasn't going to be that we weren't going to get the exact answer. I acknowledge that, not once, but twice. And Bob is trying to paint this as if it's a total blunder of Red's rhetoric. Dude, you're a jackass. Fuck you.
This is what you expected. Like someone just said in the chat, if you just used the straight line distance as the crow flies, the flat earthers would have all just complained that that's not reality because that's not what you drove. So there's no way that you can win with flat earthers.
And that's the thing. I wanted to use the driving distance because that's something that you could measure yourself with your car's odometer. You don't have to take Google Earth into it. You just need to fucking drive the route. But if I were to use Google Earth and do the straight line distance, which you can do, they would have just said that, oh, you can't do that because you're just taking Google Earth's word for it, and therefore conspiracy, therefore shill.
Not only can we confirm the shape of the Earth with an equatorial mount, we can also figure out a value for r. But before we conclude this video, there is one other fact I would like to discuss.
Now the problem is they figured out the value for r using math that already assumed the value for r in it, in those degrees, right? So
no.
What?
No.
Fuck.
The degrees, Bob, you absolute moron, are simply the angles of elevation to get Polaris in the viewfinder at those certain points across America. They don't take into account R at all. They are simply the elevation angle, right?
Yeah, basically what Bob is trying to say here is that I made an assumption. We measured the angles. We measured the distance traveled. From those 2 data points, I was able to get a value for R. Which one of those 2 data points was an assumption, Bob?
None.
You measured the altitude angle, you measured the distance driven. So where is the assumption, Bob?
I mean, just the fact that you're saying that the angle of elevation takes into an assumption of R. I mean, again, this is a guy who he's sitting in a room doing this stream with an EQ mount probably within 5 meters of him.
And get an angle of elevation on a flat Earth.
Yeah,
that's the whole point, isn't it? You've got these various distances from the pole, checking the angles of elevation. They match what it would be, or pretty much within 8%, for a sphere, not a flat Earth.
It's
mental. In the last live that we had, I actually did the math on this with just the straight line distance as the crow flies, and it was exactly what the accepted value was. I think off by a few kilometers, maybe 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, something like that. But that was taking the distance as the crow flies. I did a driving distance, and I said at the very beginning, this is not a straight line. This line would not bring a mathematician joy. We're just trying to get close enough. That's all I was trying to do. I was trying to demonstrate that even a flat earther just doing driving, just basic fucking driving and taking nothing for granted, just doing a drive and tallying the odometer can get within striking distance of the actual answer. That's all I was trying to demonstrate. And these guys basically try to make it seem like, oh, Red's Rhetoric did a blunder here, even though he was perfectly honest and we're just too big a dipshits to actually understand what the hell he's saying in the video.
Oh my god. Right, let's get through the stupidity.
This told us nothing. This is complete horse hockey. So let's continue forward.
Remember what was shown at the beginning of this video. We watched as an EQ mount was able to track a celestial object perfectly, giving us the stacked image by rotating only one axis. Now, would this be possible on a flat Earth?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
No.
The simple fact is this.
No.
If we were on a flat Earth, the EQ mount would have to move 2 axes of rotation in order to track any object in the sky.
Now they do that by assuming again that
that's right. That if the Earth was flat, it would have to track in more than one axis. That's just undeniable.
You would have to move 2 axes of rotation in order for it to track any object over the flat Earth. Only on the round Earth model would you be able to track celestial objects when only rotating one axis.
The one exception is from the North Pole. The
North Pole. The North Pole is the only place it works.
Absolutely. On a flat Earth, that's the only place the equatorial mount could work. And it would work slightly differently to how it works in reality.
I mean, it would still work, but just not the way it's intended.
Yeah.
That the ceiling, so-called ceiling, is up at 4,000 miles, right? Again, completely taking out the idea of perspective, right, and how it creates this dome of vision, this personal atmospheric dome. And again, they want to apply an orthographic.
Pause that.
Magic, then, is their answer.
So now I need to make another adjustment to my bet. Not only does he have to explain this personal atmospheric dome to me, not only does he have to explain how you would take that into account when setting up an EQ mount, but he has to explain this to me using the actual law of perspective. Since perspective doesn't take into account a personal atmospheric dome, good fucking luck, Bob.
Yeah, and we all know it. Thanks to listening to Reds, alpha equals 2 times the arctan of G over 2R.
Neat.
Type of vision to it. Sorry, guys. All you're doing is reversing the Earth curvature for the actual perspective of the eye.
No,
and it's an obvious trick. And, unfortunately...
Wait a minute. Pause that. You are reversing the Earth curvature for the perspective of the eye.
He did say those words in that order, yes. Yes, he absolutely did.
Okay.
Maybe he's
That's
having
what
a
you
stroke.
did, was it, Red? Is that how you did it? You're pulling the wool over our eyes. Is that what you've been doing?
You know what, Bob? You fucking caught me.
Yes.
I do not know what the fuck you just said, but holy shit, you got me.
Oh my god. I mean, these people have to have Velcro on their shoes, right?
Fortunately, you still cannot get rid of that perspective of the eye, and when you add that back in, it completely destroys the EQ mount for use on a ball Earth, period. Continue on.
What?
Not just the one axis that has been demonstrated to work in reality. Here's a video that demonstrates what I'm saying. Many thanks to Slice Arcane for making the following illustration.
See, 5,000 kilometer high target, right? So that's what they're going to do. They're going to straw man it right there by putting that at 5,000 kilometers high, and again, then using orthographic values for this, right? Completely wrong, and all of this is just nonsense, right? We don't even have to watch the rest of this.
Something that they need to do to, definitely prove his assumption is, for example, take all these measurements 30 kilometers up in the atmosphere and trying to look at Polaris at those altitude.
Agreed.
And look, send some balloons. Of course, I am not going to, saying, okay, go up into a gondola and make the measurements, but send balloons with the telescope, trying to, move remotely and trying to point Polaris 30 kilometers up and do all the calculation and things like that.
So he wants to send up a balloon with an EQ mount on up to 30 kilometers, and then polar align it whilst it's 30 kilometers up, right?
From a moving platform, which is a balloon.
Yeah, well, he's going to need one hell of a balloon. I mean, Mage was under a kilogram in total weight, and that included the balloon.
And how much does your EQ mount weigh, Wolfie?
Say again?
How much did your EQ mounts weigh?
Oh, the smallest one is a couple of kilograms.
Right. So
plus whatever camera or scope or whatever you're going to have.
And that's
have you seen how fast those things spin around up there?
It's
unbelievable.
It's crazy.
So the only way to prove it to this guy is to do something that is, according to the laws of physics as we know it, impossible.
Correct.
And not only impossible, fucking dumb. Because because remember what I said in my video. In order to get accurate measurements, you need to level the scope. How are you going to do that from a balloon with it swinging all over the place?
Well, with water, obviously.
Water's always level. Okay. Water's always level.
Really because if not, you are looking under water. You're just trying to point an object in the reflection of the atmosphere, which reacts as a water. And you don't know where that point is in terms of distance. So you are assuming a lot of factors in this case.
Exactly. And what that will do by doing it up higher in the elevation, it will eliminate the refraction abilities, but still they have not compensated for the perspective, right? The way perspective actually works and the way that it gives us the personal atmospheric dome. So again, they're never going to be able to get around that because they simply want to deny the way that the eye works and the way that optics work.
Hey, I will never be able to get around it because I don't know what the fuck you're saying.
No, he said that we get that high, we get around the refraction problem because there's hardly any atmosphere up there, but we've got an atmospheric dome up there as well.
Yeah, well,
would it become an atmospheric sphere when you go that high?
Perspective causes the atmospheric dome, regardless of the atmosphere. Apparently, somehow.
And there was something about reverse engineering the perspective curvature that is inside your eyeball. And I'm sorry, I'm not drunk enough for this shit.
Sounds good to me, Reds. Take my money.
Yeah, tell me about it. But another thing. Notice how he said we don't need to watch this, or we're not going to watch it. So that the model
skipped it. Yeah.
Yep, the model that I had Sly Sparkane made that showed that in order for shit to be tracked on a flat Earth, that EQ mount would have to move 2 axes. Bob Nodell was so terrified of that video, of that illustration, that he skipped it entirely. Why are you so afraid, Bob? Why are you so afraid?
Right, let's see.
Destroyed Bob many times. Yeah,
Sly Sparkane's great.
Sly Sparkane was one of the first channels that I started watching back in 2016 when I encountered flat earthers, and his animations are still among the best, for demonstrating these points. And I know over the years, certainly 2017, 2018, he was just putting Bob in his place numerous times. So I'm not surprised at all that Bob was afraid to look at his animation.
Yeah,
I love the way that Sly
and
Sparkane
not
does
only and here's the thing: he didn't just model the flat Earth; he also modeled the globe, and it matched reality. Imagine that. So we have measurements that comport with the globe. We have a model that illustrates how the globe comports with reality. We have all these things that confirm the globe without having to take into account a personal atmospheric dome, whatever the fuck that means. So basically, it all comes down to Mr. Sensible. Mr. Sensible, you said something about Occam's razor, right?
Oh, I did indeed, yes.
And I think people should bring up the Googles and the Wikipedias and look up Occam's razor. What say you?
That sounds good to me. Definitely.
Yeah, so Bob, my challenge for you, I'm actually going to make another challenge. And this one, I will give you $5 whole for.
Wow.
What I would like for you to do is go on Google, type in Occam's razor, and look at the Wikipedia article. If you can make a video
Might
of
need to
you
spell it out for him.
reading that shit from top to bottom, I will give you $5 whole.
Yeah. You just might need to spell Razor. That's all. Right, let's see if any more stupid comes out of their mouths.
Which you can't do that. You cannot use an orthographic view to replace a first-person view, perspective vision. You just can't. So
why?
They
Explain why.
pretend that they can model reality in these orthographic views in these little maps without taking into account the atmospheric conditions. Every single time they have to do this. It's kind of like the astrophysicists asking why is it he cannot see the Eiffel Tower from Florida.
It's a good question.
They're out of their mind. They never even learned that there are atmospheric conditions, even though in every climate forecast, weather forecast, you have visibility as an issue.
Well, it's just like telling how.
Right.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say.
I think that's really as far as they get with trying to debunk Red's video. So we don't need to listen to any more of their absolute fucking retard. Oh, so dumb. Yeah. Reds and I are going to put together a scripted video to cover that more cohesively. This is the first time we've kind of watched it like this, and this is obviously all on the fly. But I think over the next couple of weeks or so, Reds and I will put together a proper scripted response that, maybe keep it down to 10, 12 minutes so it's easy to watch and cover all the stupidness that they brought up there. Because Bob is someone that confuses me so much. He has provided so much evidence that the Earth is a globe with equipment that he almost seems to understand, but still says the most ridiculous things. Have you done a Bob video, Mr. Sensible?
I don't think I have, no. I've used his clip, of course, no end of times, as everyone, but I haven't done a video specifically about him.
I think you might enjoy having a look at some of the stuff that he's put on his channel that apparently proves the ether and proves the personal atmospheric dome and stuff.
Yeah, I'd heard about this personal atmospheric dome elsewhere, but I didn't really think twice about it. With all the dumb we see,
yeah,
that was the least of the problems.
Now it's a double personal atmospheric dome.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mr. Sensible, thank you for coming on. I know it's very late for you. Same as
no,
me
my
in
pleasure.
the UK.
I've had a good time on it. Good time.
And I hope that you get back to Earth safe on the Enterprise there. I am worried that there seems to be nobody else on your bridge.
Yeah, well, it's the time of night, isn't it? But funny you saying about getting back to the Earth safe. I don't know if any flat earthers actually applied for the Dear Moon project.
I know. I did.
I did?
Yeah.
I've submitted my application.
Yes.
Hey, Reds, will you film it if I go up?
Absolutely, dude. I got the best equipment for that, and I can use the Nikon P1000, the flat earther camera of choice.
I'll make sure I wave out the window.
I'll let him out my basement to record that for sure. Reds did apply, but unfortunately he's banned from most government kind of databases and stuff because of his face. Every time he logs on to the internet using his actual name, just like warning signs. If he's got a camera attached to his computer, it just shuts down all the electricity in his area just to be safe. So.
Oh, dude, it's so weird. It's like every single government agency that you can possibly imagine just swarms on my property. So you have you have the NSA, you have the CSA, you have the FBI, you have the National Wildlife Service for some fucking reason.
Poison control. Right, and Wolfie, thank you very much for taking the time to come on. I know you're stuck there in isolation with not much to do, and I'm looking forward to having you on tomorrow for Stupidity's Not a Right as well.
Absolutely, I look forward to it. And my last request to Bob is, when are we going to see video of you actually flying an aeroplane? Certainly.
Well, the problem,
the pilot could do that, and I've shown myself numerous times in a light aircraft and in my jet. I show my face, I show myself talking. If you're a real pilot, Bob, why don't we ever see video of you flying an aircraft? And the other question, which only requires you to tell the truth, when did you last do an FAA medical? A professional pilot has to do the medical every 12 months, and beyond a certain age, you have to do it every 6 months. So certainly Bob would fit that category of having to do it every 6 months. And yet The FAA record for Bob shows that the last medical he did was a private pilot, Category 3 only, in 1978.
Oh, wow. So he's not been near a plane for a long time. Now, see,
Yeah, so
I like your challenge, calling them out, show us you flying a plane. But my issue with that is that it would probably result in a plane crash of some kind. So maybe, Bob, don't show us you flying a plane, because I doubt you have the mental fortitude to actually do that. I reckon in 1973 he took his in 1973 he took his medical so that he could start his training, but they quickly realized he was a fucking moron and kicked him out.
Why didn't he fly to the ice wall then and have a look?
Because he can't fly planes, because he's a liar. Right, I'm going to read super chats and we are going to get out of here. Guys, I want to say thank you very much. We had nearly 600 people watching at one point, which is amazing for a non-debate stream. The support always absolutely blows my mind. And there's a lot of super chats, and that is incredibly generous. I do know that not everyone's able to support financially, especially at the moment. And the best way to help the channel grow is to share our stuff on Facebook and Twitter. I can't say this enough. Nearly 60% of my channel's views come from social media, and the majority of that from Facebook. So if you want to help the channel grow, and if you want to help Mr. Sensible's channel grow, and if you want to help Wolfie's channel grow, share our stuff on Facebook, especially in the Flat Earth groups, because then they share it even more while they're extremely triggered. Mr. Sensible, again, thank you very much for coming on. It does mean the world. Pleasure. And if you guys aren't subscribed to Mr. Sensible, you really should do that. He has absolutely murdered the Flat Earth with his Mage 2 project.
Thank you. Thank you.
No worries. Right, so super chats. Well, we got one channel member, which was Rob N. Thank you very much. That's awesome. You're a fucking awesome person. Now let's go to my super chats. For some reason, it's not showing up in my streaming thing, so I've got to go and find it. There we go. Wow, a lot of super chats. We start with Fuck YouTube for $5, who said he made an erroneous comment on MC Toon's video. When called out, he admitted his error and thanked them for correcting me. Flerfs should try this too. What kind of heathen is this? He admitted he was wrong? What the actual... Reds, can we stand for that? Reds is gone.
Oh, well, look at that. I was wrong because I thought that my mic was unmuted when in fact it wasn't.
Oh, you just admitted you were wrong. Amazing.
So to answer that question, no, we can't. We can never. We can't stand for that. Wolfie, I'm gonna need you to scramble the jets.
Yeah. Send them in. Alison for $5 Australian Globebusters, aka the guys that demonstrated Earth be a rotating globe with 100% certainty twice now. Geza the Master Viewer, £1.99. So it's now thanks again, Bob. Yeah, thanks again, Bob. I need to get a new emoji made. Beeble for Life for $5. Did anyone measure sticks and shadows today? Don't need to. Eratosthenes dealt with that 2,500 years ago. Throw the Dwarf, who you can find watching me on my Globers and Goblins Dungeons and Dragons channel, Globers and Goblins, for $2 Australian, says, check Dire Wolf Tavern for a sneak peek of my NPC. Oh, I will do that later. Why Kick a Moo Cow 855 for $5 Australian. A question for any girls in the chat. Red's Rhetoric or Mo Sislak? Reds, he's even trying to say that Mo Sislak is anywhere near as ugly as you. That's not true, is it?
Oh no, absolutely not. My face was deemed illegal in 14 U.S. states and is also deemed a weapon of mass destruction by the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, you can actually be put on trial for war crimes just by mentioning Red Rhetoric's face, even if there's no war. That's how serious it is.
I mean, I once went through a drive-through and the paper bag over my face caught fire, and I had to run away. Otherwise, I would be executed right there on the spot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Reds is so ugly, he does make blind children cry. So we just can't show his face.
Absolutely. You can't have it.
Fuck YouTube for $5. Do the Globebusters know that math was used to design all of the electronics that make their stream possible? Yeah, it's always amazing when they deny things like relativity and then stream on the internet. Throw the Dwarf for another $5 Australian. By the way, in one of the videos you did with JM, you end up showing your desktop picture, which was one of your wedding pictures. Yeah, probably, but that's fine. I don't mind. Apoc Razor for $10 says, been watching your show for over a year now and absolutely love your content. Love how you make these Flerfs rage quit. Also, any recommendations for good telescopes? Reds, you'd probably be the person to give recommendations for good telescopes, or Wolfie maybe.
Basically, just get yourself a good 8-inch Celestron. I would stay away from Mead because I think they're about to go under, if I'm completely honest. So yeah, I would stick with like Orion or Celestron and go with at least a 8-inch like Cassegrain. That's what I would recommend doing.
Wolfie,
Yeah,
what would you
that's good
say?
advice. I'd follow that too. I like Celestron scopes. I've got a 6-inch Cassegrain, which is what I did the Orion Nebula photo with. That was only a little 6-inch, and I've got a 9 3/4-inch Celestron as well, which is a lot more powerful. But admittedly, I don't really use it that often because it's quite heavy, and I like to leave the mount assembled and just carry it out in one piece. But yeah, certainly those. And another good brand is Skywatcher. Skywatcher makes some excellent refractor telescopes. I've got an 80 millimeter refractor, which is just a fabulous scope. It just has a beautiful sharp image. So anything like that. And important thing to remember that if you're going to do some astrophotography, you need a mount with a payload capacity roughly twice of what your actual load is. So if your telescope weighs 10 kilograms, you need a mount that can support up to about 20. It's about 50% weight to capacity ratio works very well. Otherwise, it can wobble a bit. It doesn't track as accurately. But if it's operating a light load, you'll get much more precise tracking.
I would also recommend a website called High Point Scientific. Unlike most places that I have contacted, they actually, pick up the phone and are knowledgeable and are more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And they will usually point you in the right direction. So basically tell them your budget, what you're looking to do with it, and they will build you a package that will best fit your needs, your wants, your desires, that kind of thing. High Point Scientific, I am not sponsored, but if High Point Scientific would like to change that, hit me up.
Or me, because it's in my basement.
A thumbs up for High Point Scientific also. High Point Scientific, I've purchased things from them. They delivered to me when I'm in the US quite quickly. Another really great company is OPT Corp. That's a telescope company I bought my Coronado solar scope from, and they were just absolutely fabulous. They don't deliver internationally, but they made an exception in my case. Cost me a few extra hundred, but the great salesperson there made sure that my telescope was forwarded to me in Australia. So they're fantastic.
That's
OPT
awesome.
Corp. In the UK, First Light Optics. You can't go wrong. First Light Optics.
First Light Optics. I'll look up to that. Yep. Right, B16 Street Burner for $10 says, Reds, why is the observation of the sun during the summer equinox from the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer not brought up more in flat Earth debates?
Mainly because the subject doesn't need to be dived into. If we're talking about an equatorial telescope mount, we're kind of going to stick to that. But in our normal everyday arsenal against Flerfism, yeah, we should bring that up a little bit more often.
Yeah, okay. Irish Demon, who, again, guys, if you could retweet the tweet that he put out about his channel getting demonetized, that would be a personal favor from me. For $4.49 Australian, exactly, all those videos, the pilots are clearly trolling. Yeah, they're just having a laugh, like Wolfie said earlier. Rodent, no last name, for $5. Moronesty is a combination of moron and honesty when you're being completely honest about being a moron. Flat Earthers aren't ever that honest, though, about anything. Irish Demon for another $2.99 Australian says, thanks for the support this week, folks. You deserve it, dude. You're an awesome content creator, and what's happened to your channel is an absolute fucking travesty, and I hope we can help get it overturned. Fuck you, Tube, for $5 says, how can Flerfs say we are condescending? You can't insult someone's intelligence when they have none to insult. Bob's Gyroscope for $2 says, Earth's not flat. I proved it. Yes, you have, twice. Carrie Bronson, $5 says, have you lot played the Flat Earth Simulator on Steam yet? If not, why not? I'm going to do a live stream playing that. It should be fun. Disco Scotty for $10. It's easy to keep moving goalposts when you have endless Flat Earth in front of you. Rodent, no last name, for $5 says, I got my J&J COVID one-shot vaccine today. Guess I have autism now. Joke. Hope you all get it soon. The vaccine, I mean, not autism. That sounds like autism to me. So vaccine causes autism, confirmed. But good job on getting the vaccine. I think mine's in the next month or so. High Plains Drafter for $3 with a thumbs up sticker. Thank you. Bob's Gyroscope for $2 says, Reds, it was a 15 degree per hour drift. It was. Thanks, Bob.
Yes.
Indie Tiger for $5 says, we can't see Proxima Centauri in most of the Northern Hemisphere. Correct. Because there's a big fucking planet in the way. Michael Hoyes for $5 says, orthographic means without perspective. Also, if you're looking at the telescope from a distance away, you have to take into account multiple angles. Yet none of those words would help a flat earther because they don't understand basic English. Mobile Metal for $1.99 says, my dome is bigger than yours. Yes, FTFE dome insurance. We've got you covered. Thanks, I saw that in the chat. Pivot Croy for €5 says he probably meant the right meth and not math. Michael Hoyes for $2 says they need to use Sweeney Todd and his razor. Now, Occam's razor should work, but it never does. Walter Bislam. Hello, Walter Bislam. Hello. I was saying how awesome you are. Welcome to the chat. For 5 CHF, look at the chat for link. Thank you. It's awesome to see you in my chat. Like I said earlier, you're one of the most intelligent people that I ever use as a resource. So thank you for doing what you do. YouTube Surgeon General for $2 says, oh, he's drawn a penis emoji and then miles per squared. Fix it instead of 8 inches per mile. He's turned 8 into a dick, guys. Richard Peter said for $2, FTFE, I'm sending you bill for my facepalm damage. Sorry, not sorry. Rodent No Last Name for $20. Thank you very much. I would like to point out that 3 people in this video have done real-world experimental observations that prove the globe, and that 2 people in their vid did real-world experimental observations that prove the globe. Yeah, we don't need to do experimental observations that prove the globe when the flat earthers keep doing it for us. Right, let me just refresh that, see if any more came in. Again, guys, your generosity constantly blows me away. Oh, there's quite a few more. Where did it get to? X-Penguin95 for £5 says, Bob can't afford that many planes. He crashes every time he takes off as he doesn't take into account curvature and stalls. Yeah, I would love to see Bob take up Wolfie's challenge, but Bob isn't a real pilot. Thomas Matthew for $5 says, if I'm standing next to you and it's raining in your personal atmospheric dome, as it's raining in my personal atmospheric dome as well. Is it raining in my personal atmospheric dome as well? No, you have to have your own weather. That's how it works. Glober Mum for $5. Bob, thanks Bob. Jerem, Pratt, Ranty, Oakley. So many flat earthers have actually proved the earth is a sphere, yet keep lying to say it's flat. Yeah, they can do it though, it's funny. Castillo Fury, $5 says, keep smashing the flat earth guys, keep up the good work. Thank you, we will. Rodent No Last Name for $5 says, we need to put Red under a rocket launch pad so the payload will leap into orbit to get away from his face. Huge fuel savings. Red's, he's onto something.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Someone
I'm going to
contact
actually
Elon.
have to. Yeah, I'm going to have to email my buddy Elon and my main man Torrid Bruno. Yeah, we're gonna get this going.
Indie Tiger for $20, thank you. This is the same technique I used to get my estimate of the Earth radius, except I used the time to Newport RI to Ross to Spain and cruising speed for the ship I was on. 3,707 miles was my estimate, which was within 6%. Awesome. So, you also showed that it's correct. And Marek Zayantz with 5 PlayStation Network dollars, no message. And I think one more just came in. Let me refresh that quickly. And then we got CPM Zone for $5. How about Bob film himself flying while dipping the nose down? No, he can't film himself flying because he's not a real pilot. But that is going to be it for tonight, guys.
Have that.
No,
we cannot have that because again, we're worried about the people on the ground that he might hurt.
Yeah.
We don't want to cause any sort of catastrophe. Oh wait, hang on. Film himself while dipping the nose down to prove the Earth isn't a sphere, while over the ocean. Okay, in that case,
yeah.
Okay, in that case,
that's fine.
Go for it, Bob.
I mean, fish might get hurt, but so what? But anyway, yeah, thank you very much, guys. Your generosity is incredible. The super chats really help the channel grow and allow me to keep doing these streams and keep Reds in, water and cat food locked in my basement. Once again, Mr. Sensible, thank you for coming on. What have you got coming up on your channel?
Well, tonight I just had, you mentioned the Coriolis thing. I had a video with regard to Oakley and Quantum Eraser. I'm absolutely sick of them misrepresenting what Coriolis force is.
Yeah, they all
So
do
I did
it.
a video. Yeah, absolutely stupid it is. So I did a video aimed exactly at them, and did my Coriolis a small Coriolis explanation demonstration video, which I'm going to be releasing, I think, on Monday, is another one of my little experiment ones that anyone can use and just include in videos and whatever to use whenever they need to. Like you've used bits of that Ball Horizon one and things like that.
Yeah.
So people will be welcome to use that. Just for the
I'll
credit.
add that to my vMix.
Yeah, please do. Aside from that, I really don't know, other than the fact that I've got this Dear Moon thing going on. I've have officially applied, which is quite exciting. I'm a realist about my chances, but hey,
Yeah.
if I don't go into it, I won't stand a chance. And
if you're not, you can't win it if you're not in it.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, even though it's literally just applying, and I might get chucked out at the very first hurdle, I feel that I'm part of something unique and a little bit special. It's a bit of fun as well.
Yeah.
But
and
I found
if
out
you
today.
Got chose, you know.
Sorry?
If you did get chosen, that would be amazing.
Yeah, wouldn't it just? The one thing is, we are not allowed to talk about the selection process at all.
Ooh.
So I had hoped to be able to do a series of videos talking all the way through it, but unfortunately can't talk about
maybe
the selection
after it's been done, they'll allow you to talk about it.
Yeah, perhaps. It'll be interesting, won't it? But it's just a bit of fun.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight, Mr. Sensible. And
my pleasure. Thank you for
on
letting me come on.
Stupidity's Not Right as well.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I think
next week, you're on.
Not this Sunday, Sunday after.
Yes, absolutely. And Wolfie, thank you again for coming on. Hope you managed to kill some of your time there in isolation.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm going home on Tuesday after 7 weeks away from home, so family is going to be a bit of a priority. But what I hope to do is capture the geostationary satellites being eclipsed by the Earth's shadow again, which I did on the last equinox in September, and it's occurring right now. But I can't do it from quarantine. But as soon as I get home, I'll fire up the gear, and if the skies are clear, I'll put some videos out on that. And later in April, I'll be flying the new aircraft, which I just got type rated on, and certainly hope to be making a lot of videos on that one. And that thing has got 2 head-up displays. So yeah,
nice.
New toy, exactly. It's going to really, really destroy the globe because you can actually see the globe in the flight management system.
Nice. Again, thank you for coming on, Wolfie. You were one of the kind of the first people that I, was involved with the whole flat out hero thing. So thank you for being an inspiration and doing what you do and killing flat Earth as well as you do. And Reds, thank you again for broadcasting from my basement.
Yeah, of course. I do want to make a plea to everyone who's watching in the live chat right now. I'm copying and pasting a link, guys, that I would like for you all to retweet. Again, Irish Demon has been treated very unfairly by YouTube by responding to a guy who is literally telling people to kill themselves. His videos were demonetized, or his entire channel was demonetized, while the video that is currently out there right now telling people to kill themselves is still up. I don't think this is the way it should be. Obviously, something's wrong. This needs to be fixed. So we're trying to get Team YouTube to do something about this. And unfortunately, the only way to get in contact with YouTube, it seems, is through Twitter. So please ignore how stupid that is and just roll with it if you can. So in the live chat right now, I am posting the link to Irish Demon's tweet. If you can please do me a favor, retweet that to Team YouTube and tell them politely to fix their shit. Because
it's not fair.
What happened to Irish Demon is unfair. It should not stand. We should try to do something about it. So please get the word out and retweet it like you've never retweeted before. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah, I absolutely second that. What's happened to Irish Demon is bullshit. So anyone that could retweet that, is, every little helps. Again, thank you to my guests for tonight, and I will see you all tomorrow for episode 5 of Stupidity is Not a Right. For now, just remember that stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat Earth. Fight the flat. 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 Fight the fly.